Chapter 2862, Who Are You Miss Lung? Kai Ming and young Master Chu's expressions changed. The two of them did not expect that the treasure they had carefully prepared would not catch the phoenix's attention. Surrounded by many female disciples, Lung Rushuang flew to the side. However, after just 2 steps, another figure appeared in front of her. He wore a golden robe and stood there quietly with a long sword on his back. His body was slightly trembling, and there was a gentle smile on his extremely cold and young face. His gaze was extremely gentle and filled with endless love as he looked at Lung Rushuang. Unlike the gentleness that young Master Chu and Kai Ming deliberately showed, the gentleness and love of this golden-robed young man were not the slightest bit fake. He looked at Lung Rushuang as if he was looking at the person he loved the most. And this person was Jian Wushuang. In the martial arts practice field, many experts looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. Who is this person? Is he also a pursuer of young phoenix? Haha, not only is young phoenix's talent unparalleled, but her beauty is also shocking. It's normal for her to have a few pursuers. However, young phoenix has very high standards. She doesn't even care about young Master Kai Ming and young Master Chu. She doesn't even care about the gifts they prepared. It's not easy to impress her. Just wait and see. This guy is probably asking for trouble. Everyone was discussing. Kai Ming and Master Chu's faces also darkened. Where did he come from? Kai Ming's eyes were cold. As for Master Chu, he had already recognized Jian Wushuang. It's him. Master Chu's eyes narrowed. Previously in Fire Cloud Castle, he had set his eyes on Jian Wushuang. He had also carefully investigated Jian Wushuang's information. Of course, he had also obtained some of Jian Wushuang's battle scenes. Those who remembered Jian Wushuang's appearance could now recognize him. Why is Sword One here? And his gaze. This kid is also interested in young phoenix. Young Master Chu was secretly surprised. Jian Wushuang's gaze was too eye-catching. There was no hiding the tenderness and love in his gaze. Almost everyone present could see it. Naturally, they immediately thought that Jian Wushuang was also pursuing Lung Rushuang. But they did not know that Jian Wushuang was completely different from those so-called suitors. In the void, Jian Wushuang was still gazing at Lung Rushuang from a certain distance. Finally, after a long time, he opened his mouth slightly. Shuang. The 2 words, which were soft and gentle, also sounded on the martial arts practice field, but everyone present was stunned. Shuang. Was this how the golden-robed young man addressed the young phoenix of Dragon Phoenix Pavilion? Was the young phoenix not called Lung? Shuang. Lung Rushuang's face, which had always been as cold as ice, slightly changed. This name is very familiar. Who are you? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Who are you? Lung Rushuang was asking him who he was. How could it be? How could it be? Shuang, how can you not recognize me? Jian Wushuang's heart was roaring crazily, and his body was also trembling crazily. Countless thoughts had already formed in his mind. He and Lung Rushuang were both sent into the reincarnation passage by his master Xian Yi. Under normal circumstances, keeping one's soul in the reincarnation passage was equivalent to reincarnation. Although everything had started over again, it still retained the memories of his previous life, so Lung Rushuang must have remembered him. But now, who are you? These 3 simple words made Jian Wushuang's mood fall to the bottom. Don't you recognize me? Jian Wushuang asked. Your appearance gives me a sense of déjà vu. I also feel very familiar with the name Shuang, but I really don't know who you are. Lung Rushuang shook her head slightly and paused, then she asked again, Can you tell me your name? My name. Jian Wushuang felt bitter in his heart. Obviously, Lung Rushuang did not remember him. She did not even know his name. She just felt that he was somewhat familiar. Did something happen when I entered the reincarnation passage, or did Shuang-Er's soul sleep all the time in my previous life, causing her memory to become blurry? Jian Wushuang pondered. In the outside world, the experts on the martial arts practice field all had strange expressions. As a matter of fact, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's young phoenix expression had never changed since she appeared on the martial arts practice field. She had always been as cold as ice. Even though young Master Chu and Kai Ming had offered generous gifts to her, her expression did not change at all. But now, the sudden appearance of the golden-robed man and the way he addressed Shuang caused the expression of the young phoenix to change. What's more, young phoenix had taken the initiative to ask for his name. I spent more than 10 years preparing the heavenly phoenix silver snowgown just to make her smile, but she didn't even bother to look at me. But now, she has taken the initiative to ask for Sword One's name. After that, young Master Chu's long and narrow eyes became unusually cold and stern. Kai Ming, who was beside him, also had an extremely ugly expression. In the void, Jian Wushuang's heart was struggling. He really wanted to rush forward and hold Lung Rushuang in his arms, but he was afraid of scaring her. Moreover, the situation in front of him did not seem to be the same as what he was doing. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang raised his head again, but he had already made a decision in his heart. Without any warning, Jian Wushuang's figure directly floated toward Lung Rushuang's position. Kai Ming and young Master Chu were both shocked by this scene. "How dare you!" Kai Ming shouted angrily, and his body instantly rushed forward. "Damn it! He got there first." Young Master Chu also rushed forward, but he was obviously behind Kai Ming. After all, his strength was far inferior to Kai Ming's. Jian Wushuang approached Lung Rushuang, but Kai Ming had already blocked him before he could reach her. "Where did this idiot come from? Miss Lung is also someone like you who can get close to her. Give me." Kai Ming was about to say the word "get lost" when Jian Wushuang looked at him directly. A fierce light flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, a terrifying sword essence rushed toward Kai Ming. Kai Ming's last word was stuck in his throat, but he could not utter it again. He was still standing in front of Jian Wushuang, but his eyes were wide open. He stared at Jian Wushuang, and his body was trembling. In a split second, the moment Jian Wushuang's sword essence burst out, a thought appeared in Kai Ming's heart. If he dared to utter the last word, his throat would be cut by his opponent in the next moment. There was no room for struggle. Although it was just an illusion, Kai Ming was still terrified by it. Chapter 2863, Past Life and Present Life in the Void. Kai Ming had completely stopped. Jian Wushuang floated past him and continued toward Lung Rushuang. Finally, he arrived in front of Lung Rushuang. When he was less than 10 meters away, he finally stopped. Then he slowly reached out and took out a jade slip. He looked at Lung Rushuang with deep affection and threw the jade slip to her. Lung Rushuang hesitated for a moment, then took the jade slip and began to read it with her consciousness. There was only one paragraph in the jade slip. "In my previous life, I chased you for 100,000 years. My heart was broken, and I missed you. I entered the reincarnation with you in this life. I promise you 100 million years, and we will be together until death. When we meet today, you will be my companion. Jian Wushuang." Lung Rushuang moved for a moment and then looked up at Jian Wushuang. But she found that Jian Wushuang had already turned around and left. Lung Rushuang could only look at Jian Wushuang's back and mutter to herself. "Jian Wushuang, is this his name? Why does this name feel so familiar to me? In my previous life, in this life, who is he?" Lung Rushuang was also puzzled. She shook her head after a long while. "Let's go," Lung Rushuang said. Then she returned to her residence with many female disciples. Until Lung Rushuang completely disappeared from everyone's sight, the people on the martial arts practice field were in an uproar. In the center of the training grounds, the few undying saints had been quietly watching this scene. They did not express any opinions, but now, they were all laughing and chatting. "Ha ha," as expected of the young phoenix of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. "There really are quite a few suitors. Yeah, the young master of the Heavenly Melody Realm Lord and the young pavilion master of the Star Pavilion aren't ordinary people. There's also that little fellow who appeared at the end. He seems to be quite extraordinary as well. He is indeed extraordinary. Everyone should have noticed that in that instant, right?" The several immortal saints exchanged glances and nodded. Sword intent. An extremely sharp sword intent that contains boundless killing intent. This sword intent isn't too strong. Logically speaking, Kai Ming should be the young pavilion master of the Star Pavilion, and his strength should be infinitely close to that of an invincible divine master. This sword intent shouldn't be able to do anything to him. But in the end, he was so frightened by that sword intent that he couldn't even speak. Haha, the sword essence is only secondary. The key is the overwhelming killing intent contained in the sword essence. If I didn't guess, the little guy should be a real killing god. Although he looks young, he has killed many cultivators in his life. Only the terrifying killing intent condensed under the overwhelming killing and the sword essence released at the same time can shock Kai Ming. This little guy is not simple. The immortal saints were all talking about Jian Wushuang. By the way, do you know that little guy? Long Xingzi, the pavilion master of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, asked with a smile. No. There are many experts in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, but not many can have such powerful sword essence and killing intent like this little guy. He's only a peak divine master. I've thought about it, but he's not one of them. It seems that he is a reclusive expert or someone who has just risen. We haven't heard of him yet. None of the immortal saints present recognized Jian Wushuang. On the martial arts practice field, a few people recognized Jian Wushuang, but they did not hear about it. Since you don't know him, then forget it. Long Xingzi waved his hand. Thank you all for gracing us with your presence today, but the viewing ceremony has already ended. If you have nothing else to do, you can drink a few times more in my Dragon Phoenix Pavilion before leaving. If you have something to do, you can leave first. As Lung Rushuang left, the viewing ceremony had already ended. Many experts in the martial arts practice field also began to leave. In a corner of the martial arts practice field, senior brother Chu Shi, that sword one seems to have left. Should we immediately chase after him? Demonis Jiyu asked. There's no need. Chu Shi shook his head. Junior sister Jiyu, your strength is still too weak. Perhaps you still don't understand, but I saw it very clearly. Although Sword 1 didn't make a move in that instant, he was at an absolute advantage in the confrontation with Kai Ming. Kai Ming was even completely intimidated by him. Kai Ming is the young master of the Star Point Pavilion. Even he is no match for Sword 1, so I'm no match for him. It seems that I was a bit rash to challenge him. Sword 1 is so powerful. Demonis Jiyu was rather surprised but more shocked. The last time they met, Jian Wushuang's cultivation was only at the peak Earth Divine Master level, and his battle strength was only at the Divine Master level. However, it had only been a short while, and Jian Wushuang's strength was already so strong that he could not even deal with Chu Shi, who was at the peak of the Great Divine Master level. In another corner, Chu Hong, are you disappointed that Miss Leng did not take your Phoenix Silver Snow Garment? Kai Ming appeared in front of young Master Chu and mocked. Humph, didn't Miss Leng also not take your Netherworld Fire Phoenix? What are you so proud of? Young Master Chu said coldly. That's right. Miss Leng didn't accept the gifts that the two of us had meticulously prepared. She didn't even take a look at them. On the contrary, that person who appeared out of nowhere actually caused Miss Leng's expression to change. Miss Leng even took the initiative to ask for the other party's name. Hehe, young Master Chu, it seems that both of us have no hope. Kai Ming said self-mockingly. There's no hope. Young Master Chu's expression changed. Forget it, let's not talk about it. Kai Ming waved his hand and left. Young Master Chu still stood there, but his expression had already become extremely gloomy. Black Blood Emperor, I told you to keep an eye on Sword 1. How is it now? Young Master Chu asked. Young Master, I've already sent someone to follow. Black Blood Emperor said. That's good. Young Master Chu's gaze was extremely cold. Sword 1, previously in Fire Cloud Castle, after me, only Sword 1 came to pay a visit to Lord Mo. The Sword Dao treasure that Lord Mo used the Holy Heavenly Furnace to refine is very likely to have been refined for Sword 1. And now, Sword 1 has actually come to Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to compete with me for the fledgling Phoenix. Humph, he's just a peak divine master. How dare he try to get his hands on a young Phoenix? If I don't remove all his claws, I won't be called Master Chu. Black Blood Emperor, let's go and find Sword 1. Master Chu shouted. Yes. Black Blood Emperor nodded. Immediately, Master Chu led his invincible Divine Master, Black Blood Emperor, and several peak Divine Masters to chase after Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2864. Arrived after leaving the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, Jian Wushuang flew in the void alone. Shuang'er actually lost her memory? But she still feels familiar with me, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He came to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion purely to join in the fun. But, on the other hand, he was also a little curious about the favored son of heaven, Xiaofeng. However, he did not expect that the young phoenix would be his wife, Leng Rushuang. The moment he saw Leng Rushuang, he was ecstatic. However, Leng Rushuang lost her memory and could not recognize him. It was like giving him a bucket of cold water, which made Jian Wushuang pleasantly surprised. In any case, I have seen Shuang'er again. As for her memory, as long as she is familiar with me, it should not be difficult for her to recover it, Jian Wushuang thought. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. He had already reached some movement in the void behind him. Jian Wushuang remained calm and continued to move forward. He did not stop until he was a certain distance away from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and reached a desolate and vast plain. Then, he turned around. "Don't hide anymore. Come out." Jian Wushuang's bright voice spread. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, several figures rushed over from the distant sky and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang instantly. 6 people came, and the leader was young Master Chu. Jian Wushuang also recognized the cold middle-aged man standing next to young Master Chu. He was the Black Blood Emperor. In addition to the 2 of them, there were 4 other people. Their auras were also very impressive. They were all peak Great Divine Masters. An invincible Divine Master, 4 peak stage Great Divine Masters, and Master Chu himself was also an advanced Great Divine Master. Such a lineup was indeed not weak. "So it's you, Master Chu. I wonder why you have followed me all the way here." Jian Wushuang's expression was calm. He did not change because of the powerful lineup of Master Chu and the others. Sword 1. Master Chu stared at Jian Wushuang. "You know me, Master Chu?" Jian Wushuang was surprised. "I know you. When you visited Lord Mo, I happened to be in Fire Cloud Castle and heard about your visit. At that time, I heard that you were only an advanced Great Divine Master. But now, in less than 10 years, you have already reached the peak Great Divine Master. Your breakthrough speed is quite fast, I assent it," Master Chu said. "I was just lucky," Jian Wushuang said casually. "Well, cut the crap. I came to you today for 2 things. The first thing is to hand over the sword principal treasure that Lord Mo refined for you," young Master Chu shouted. "The sword principal treasure that Lord Mo refined?" Jian Wushuang looked puzzled. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You don't know? In that case, I don't have to say the second thing. I'll kill you, and then I'll go to your interspatial ring to find it." "Kill him," young Master Chu shouted in a low voice. The Black Blood Emperor did not move, but the 4 peak Great Divine Masters behind him immediately moved. Boom, 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 boom. 4 powerful auras burst out in an instant. Peak Great Divine Masters was definitely the top expert in the sacred world. In the Pill Sun sacred world, there were only a few peak Great Divine Masters, and each of them could be considered the strongest battle strength. But now, the 4 peak Great Divine Masters attacked simultaneously. The 4 peak Great Divine Masters were mighty. Because they sensed that Jian Wushuang's aura was also at the level of a peak Great Divine Master, they did not underestimate Jian Wushuang. Instead, they attacked with all their strength. One of the 4 peak Great Divine Masters suddenly grew to 30 meters, like a mountain. Behind him, a huge phantom of a strange beast appeared. His aura was monstrous, and his feet stepped on the void as he crazily charged toward Jian Wushuang. The second person was a green-clothed woman. She held a dark green whip in her hand, and with a fierce swing of the whip, Jian Wushuang could vaguely hear the sound of flowing water. Large waves spread wildly toward him. The third person was a short, thin man. Although he was short, his violent aura was the strongest among the 4 people present. He held a golden red sledgehammer, shining with golden light. He looked like a god who had descended from heaven. He swung the sledgehammer and smashed it into the void. Immediately, large waves spread out in the space. The last person was an older man with messy hair. The older man stood where he was and did not rush out. However, there was a layer of yin flame in his eyes. A strange power silently attacked Jian Wushuang. This power was a soul attack. The four great divine masters attacked with all their strength, vowing to kill Jian Wushuang on the spot. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang just smiled faintly, and then he flew out. He did not use any secret skills. He did not use 7-star secret skill, penal law divine realm, or 9 luminary star armor. He just relied on his current divine power and the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. Boom! A powerful soul attack came at him at once. However, after passing through his body's defense and hitting the exquisite pagoda, it only shook the pagoda slightly and easily blocked it. Then, the towering mountain formed by the 30-foot-tall burly man came straight at him. Jian Wushuang casually struck out with his sword. That's right. He struck with the body of the sword, not with the blade. Although it was just a casual strike, with Jian Wushuang's own strength and the power of the Blood Mountain sword, the strike's power was still at the peak of the great divine master level. Bang! The towering mountain that came crashing toward him was instantly sent flying. Then, Jian Wushuang gently slashed with his long sword. It was as casual as before, but it blocked the long whip of the cyan-robed woman and the giant hammer of the skinny man. Jian Wushuang easily neutralized the four peak divine masters' full-strength attacks. This kid seems to be quite strong. Be careful. The elder who used soul attacks said. The other three looked very serious. Then the four attacked Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry. Since the Blood Mountain sword had been infused with his blood essence, its power had soared. He had not used the Blood Mountain sword to fight with anyone since then. Now was a rare opportunity, so he was not in a hurry to finish off his opponent. He still wanted to get used to the power of the lower Blood Mountain sword. Chapter 2865 had underestimated him. Bang, 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 bang. The four peak divine masters attacked Jian Wushuang with all their strength. However, Jian Wushuang only casually attacked the four peak divine masters. Although he looked calm, he was able to withstand their attacks. My divine power has increased dramatically since I became an initial great divine master. The power of the Blood Mountain sword is dozens of times stronger than before. Now, my divine power is at least 100 times stronger than when I fought Marquis of 3 Yin. Even though I haven't used any secret skills, the power of my divine power and the Blood Mountain sword is still much stronger than that of a peak great divine master. Even if I don't use any sword skills, I can still fight against the four great divine masters with my brute strength. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He could fight with the four peak divine masters with just a casual move of his sword. If he used his sword skills seriously, I've already felt the power of Blood Mountain sword. There's no need to waste time with them. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and moved forward like a ghost. He appeared in front of the burly man who was as tall as a mountain. The burly man looked extremely sturdy, as if he was covered by a layer of rock. He immediately rushed toward Jian Wushuang when he saw him. However, this time, Jian Wushuang did not use his sword. Instead, he swung his sword. Whoosh! A beautiful sword light swept out. The sword light was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. This sword was the 7th move of the spacetime swordsmanship created by Jian Wushuang, the intoxicated one. The sword light flashed out, but it contained an extremely terrifying strangling power. This strangling power was formed by the hundreds of spacetime blades that Jian Wushuang had comprehended the spacetime rules. Of course, the most important thing was that it was the Blood Mountain sword that performed this move. The sword light collided with the burly man's mountain-like body without any hindrance. The burly man thought that his secret skill was strong enough to fight against Jian Wushuang's sword light. However, when the two collided, the burly man's hair stood on end. The towering mountain formed by the burly man was cut in half by the beautiful sword light. The sword light passed through the center of the mountain and cut it in half. Naturally, it divided the burly man's divine body in half. Even so, the The beautiful sword light did not disappear. Instead, it rushed out at an amazing speed and swept toward the messy-haired old man who had been attacking Jen Wushuang with soul attacks. What? The messy-haired old man was shocked. He did not expect the sword light to continue slashing at him. The distance was too close, and the speed of the sword light was so fast that the messy-haired elder did not have time to block it. He could not even put up some defense on his body. He could only watch as the sword light struck his divine body. It passed through his divine body. Kai. The beautiful sword light finally disappeared completely. However, 2 of the 4 peak divine masters who had surrounded Jen Wushuang were killed in an instant. How is this possible? The remaining 2 people, the green-clothed woman wielding the dark green whip, and the short and thin man wielding the sledgehammer, were all shocked. They were both peak divine masters, but Jen Wushuang had killed 2 of them with 1 strike. Did this mean that they could not withstand 1 strike? Run. Without hesitation, they turned around and tried to run away. Jen Wushuang glanced at them and slowly raised his palm. Buzz. A tremendous force of space-time rules swept away in an instant. The heaven-designated skill, with Jen Wushuang's great improvement in the space-time rule and the power of his divine power, he could use this skill again. Even an invincible divine master could not be underestimated. He had almost no ability to resist. Without any warning, the void where the cyan-robed woman and the short and skinny man were standing completely froze. The cyan-robed woman and the short and skinny man were also completely frozen, not moving at all. Jen Wushuang's figure flashed and appeared beside the 2 of them. Then he casually waved his blood mountain sword and 2 heads were immediately thrown away. In the blink of an eye, all the supreme divine masters who had surrounded Jen Wushuang were dead. Too fast. The 4 supreme divine masters had been able to fight Jen Wushuang with equal strength, but in the blink of an eye, they were killed by Jen Wushuang in less than half a breath. In the void beside the battlefield, young Master Chu stood side by side with the Black Blood Emperor. When the Black Blood Emperor saw Jen Wushuang kill the 2 peak great divine masters with his sword, he realized that something was wrong and wanted to help. However, he was too slow. He had just moved when the 4 peak great divine masters were all dead. Damn it! The Black Blood Emperor's expression changed. How could it be? Young Master Chu was stunned. They had long noticed that the divine power emitted by Jen Wushuang was only at the level of a peak great divine master. Logically speaking, Jen Wushuang would have been completely defeated in a 4-on-1 fight. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to it at the beginning and only let the 4 peak great divine masters fight while the Black Blood Emperor watched from the side. However, because of this slight underestimation, he lost 4 peak great divine masters for nothing. This was a peak great divine master. Even though the Heaven Curve world was larger than the Pill Sun Sacred world, it did not have many peak great divine masters. It was a great loss to lose 4 at once. I underestimated him. Master Chu stared at Jen Wushuang with a cold face. He's only a peak divine master, but his battle strength is almost comparable to an ordinary invincible divine master. No wonder Kai Ming couldn't stop him in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. He seemed to be intimidated. I thought he used some special method, but now it seems that his strength is indeed above Kai Ming's. Kai Ming must have realized this and chose to retreat. The Black Blood Emperor's voice was cold. In the void ahead, Jen Wushuang, who had easily killed the 4 great divine masters, looked at young Master Chu and young Master Chu with his cold eyes. Young Master Chu, didn't you want to kill me? It seems that these 4 people are not enough. Chapter 2866, Black Blood Emperor Master Chu, didn't you want to kill me? It seems that these 4 people are not enough. Jen Wushuang's voice slowly echoed between heaven and earth. Hearing it, Master Chu's face immediately turned cold. Boy, don't be too proud. It's just killing 4 great divine masters at the peak. So what's the big deal? Master Chu's voice was shallow, but he looked at the Black Blood Emperor. I'll leave it to you. With your strength, it shouldn't be a problem to take him down, right? Yes. The Black Blood Emperor nodded slightly, but his eyes gradually turned cold. Black Blood Emperor? Jen Wushuang also glanced at the Black Blood Emperor. When he left the Pill Sun sacred world, he also got some special information from Yin Sua. Among them was the Black Blood Emperor. The Black Blood Emperor had been an invincible divine master for a long time. There were different levels of invincible divine masters, and the Black Blood Emperor was one of the most powerful among them. Marquis of Three Yin, who had fought with Zhen Wushuang, was also an invincible divine master, but he was not as famous or powerful as the Black Blood Emperor. It was said that the Black Blood Emperor's comprehension of the rules, in fact, he was even comparable to an ordinary immortal saint. Under normal circumstances, as long as one had accumulated divine power to the limit of a divine master and knew some secret skills to increase the power of his power, in addition to his comprehension of the rules and Tao, he would be an invincible divine master. To be able to create an ultimate skill, one could be considered an invincible divine master. When one's comprehension of the rules exceeded that of a divine master and reached the level of an immortal saint, one could be considered an invincible divine master in the second stage. The Black Blood Emperor was an invincible divine master who had entered the second stage. Therefore, Zhen Wushuang did not underestimate the Black Blood Emperor. After my realm broke through and my strength soared, I was worried that I would not have a suitable opponent to fight with. However, although the Black Blood Emperor is not a true immortal saint, he is not weak either. So it's a good test of my current strength. Zhen Wushuang smiled. Come on, let me see what level you can force me to. Zhen Wushuang was full of expectation. The Black Blood Emperor's face was cold, and his eyes were icy. He stared at Zhen Wushuang, but there was already vast darkness spreading out from his body. This darkness was boundless and covered the vast world. An extremely oppressive aura instantly swept out, suffocating people. The Black Blood Emperor slowly raised his right hand and pointed in the direction of Zhen Wushuang. Go. He spat out a word. The boundless darkness directly covered Zhen Wushuang. The boundless dark airflow surged wildly in the void and condensed into a huge dark vortex instantly. The dark vortex was at least 300 meters wide. As soon as it appeared, it began to spin crazily. As it spun, a world-shaking devouring power suddenly erupted. Heaven devouring earth. The huge dark vortex mercilessly devoured everything in the void. The dark vortex continued to expand and slowly approached Zhen Wushuang. As expected. Looking at the huge dark vortex in front of him, Zhen Wushuang was secretly surprised. To be able to form such a huge dark vortex with just a raise of his hand, his comprehension of the dark rules must have reached an incredible level. At the very least, it's not something that a divine master can achieve. Zhen Wushuang was secretly surprised. However, he was not afraid at all. When the huge dark vortex engulfed him, a shocking sword essence rose from Zhen Wushuang's body. This sword essence wanted to tear the world apart. A thick divine power slowly surged out of Zhen Wushuang's divine body. Then, Zhen Wushuang struck out. He just struck out casually, looking like an ordinary person wielding a wooden sword. However, when he swung his long sword, a sword light immediately lit up. This sword light was feeble, dim, and incomplete. It was a broken light, a remnant light. However, when this remnant light appeared, at least 100,000 of remnant lights were everywhere in the blink of an eye. Even Zhen Wushuang's body turned into hundreds and thousands of people at this moment. Thousand-sided remnant light. The ultimate skill created by Zhen Wushuang was also his most powerful sword move. Buzz. The seemingly dim remnant light actually contained a terrifying power. The remnant light charged into the majestic dark vortex as if the dark vortex had mercilessly devoured it. However, in just a moment, the dazzling light in the majestic dark vortex became brighter and brighter. Finally, the endless sword light completely exploded, along with hundreds of spacetime blades hidden under the sword light. These sword lights and spacetime blades frantically swept out in all directions. The vast and majestic dark vortex was torn into pieces by these sword lights and spacetime blades. The entire dark vortex completely collapsed, and the dark airflow that filled the sky also scattered wildly in all directions. However, the dark vortex had just been defeated. Whoosh! A figure silently appeared beside Zhen Wushuang. Zhen Wushuang's pupils suddenly constricted, and he had already sensed the figure's arrival from the corner of his eye. Whoosh! The dark saber light did not stir up any momentum at all. Instead, it also silently slashed toward Jian Wushuang. Although the saber light did not carry much power, Jian Wushuang had already sensed the terrifying power contained in the dark saber light the moment it was swung. Jian Wushuang immediately raised his hand and waved his sword to block it. Clang! A low collision sound was heard. Jian Wushuang's body slightly sank. Before he could fight back, the owner of the dark saber light, the Black Blood Emperor, once again released his saber. This saber move was completely different from the first one. This saber move brought about the entire world and the endless darkness in the surroundings. The power it carried was shocking, and the saber light was extremely domineering. Rumble. The saber light descended. Jian Wushuang could even sense that the surrounding void was trembling crazily as if it could not withstand the power of the saber light. Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. Then, under the surge of divine power, he swung the Blood Mountain sword directly. Clang! The two collided, and the power completely exploded. However, it was obvious that Jian Wushuang was at an absolute disadvantage. What a strong power! Jian Wushuang's eyes focused. He had already felt a strong power coming from the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. His body slightly trembled, and he could not help but retreat. But at this time, the Black Blood Emperor raised his hand and swung it down. In a flash, the third slash came. And the power of the third slash was obviously more powerful and terrifying than the previous two. Chapter 2867, Fierce Battle. This saber light. Jian Wushuang looked at the dark saber light that was slashing toward him in surprise. It was the same dark saber light, but this saber light was several times stronger than the first and second saber light. The ultimate skill, and it's a terrifying ultimate skill. In terms of power, it's much stronger than the ultimate skill, Blood Coagulation Claw, created by my 1,000 square-shaped light and the Marquis of 3 Yin, Jian Wushuang praised. He immediately placed the Blood Mountain sword in front of his chest. Bang! The terrifying power completely exploded from the saber light. The boundless dark air current crazily surged toward Jian Wushuang, drowning him in the blink of an eye. Is he dead? Standing in the void not far away, young Master Chu revealed a cold smile when he saw this scene. Black Blood Emperor's expression was also extremely cold. Nevertheless, he had absolute confidence in his own strength, especially his saber skills. Each of the 3 saber strikes was an ultimate skill, especially the third one. When the power of the third saber strike was strong enough to withstand the previous 2 saber strikes, he believed that even if Jian Wushuang was an invincible divine master, even if he did not die, he would at least be severely injured. Hum 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 hum. The terrifying saber light and the darkness in the sky finally disappeared, and the void where Jian Wushuang finally appeared in front of Black Blood Emperor. However, looking at the scene in front of him, Black Blood Emperor immediately frowned. In the void not far away, young Master Chu's expression changed. He didn't die. What is he doing? Jian Wushuang was still standing in the void. There was a layer of purple barrier on his body, which was naturally formed by the Purple Emperor Bell. Jian Wushuang was covered by the Purple Emperor Bell. There was no injury on his body, nor was he in a sorry state. Even his aura was at its peak. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang was not injured at all. Black Blood Emperor, I've long heard that you're very strong. You're already at the 2nd stage among the invincible divine masters. Now it seems that it's true. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He had already recognized Black Blood Emperor's strength, and it was indeed, as the rumors said, it was even slightly stronger than the rumors said. It's true that you're strong, but it's a pity that the person you're meeting today is me. Jian Wushuang laughed strangely. At the same time, his aura soared at an astonishing speed. He was originally at the level of a junior great divine master. Under the cover of the black stone, he emitted the divine power aura of a peak great divine master. But now, as he used the 7-star secret skill, his realm instantly rose from a junior great divine master to a senior great divine master. His divine power aura also soared, and he had also reached the invincible divine master level. He was even stronger than Black Blood Emperor. With the help of the 7-star secret skill, my divine power has increased by several times. And then, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. He suddenly rushed forward and appeared in front of Black Blood Emperor in the blink of an eye. He waved the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. He swung the sword in an overbearing manner. It seemed that he was going to use his power to suppress his opponent. Black Blood Emperor was not afraid at all. He stepped forward, condensed his endless saber essence, and slashed out. In an instant, the sword shadow and the saber light collided head-on, and the power of the two completely exploded. What? Black Blood Emperor's face suddenly changed. How can it be? The power of Sword One has become stronger. And so much stronger. Black Blood Emperor was shocked. When he fought with Jian Wushuang just now, Jian Wushuang's strength and power were on par with his. But now, when they fought again, he felt the power from Jian Wushuang's sword. It was much stronger than his. It was at least several times stronger. Ha ha, Black Blood Emperor, let's compete in strength. Jian Wushuang laughed. He did not care about fighting skills anymore. He just swung his Blood Mountain sword. He swung his sword at the Black Blood Emperor again multiple times, each of which contained a power that shocked even an invincible divine master like Black Blood Emperor. Damn it, how could he be so strong? Black Blood Emperor's expression changed drastically. His comprehension of the rules was much stronger than Jian Wushuang's, and the ultimate skill he created was obviously stronger. Even so, under Jian Wushuang's overwhelming strength, he could barely hold his own against Jian Wushuang. However, at this moment, Jian Wushuang waved his left hand. Swish, 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 swish. Streams of black light shot out like black lightning. These black streams of light were extremely fast and powerful. In an instant, they appeared in front of Black Blood Emperor. Black Blood Emperor was shocked. Immediately, a majestic black airflow burst out from his body and turned into saber shadows. They collided with the black streams of light and sent them flying. After the black streamers were sent flying, they soon floated in the void in front of Jian Wushuang. It was then that they could clearly see that the black streamers were black magic swords emitting a powerful aura and the power of reincarnation. The black magic swords were arranged in a row and floated in the air. There were a total of 18 of them. The 18 underworld blood magic swords, which had reached the level of a superior divine treasure, floated in the air. With a thought from Jian Wushuang, the 18 black magic swords condensed together at an amazing speed. Buzz! A faint hum, like the sound of a sword, slowly sounded in the world. A brand new, 5-meter-long black divine sword with a very thin body suddenly appeared in the world. The 18 black divine swords condensed into one. Black Blood Emperor, try the power of my sword formation. Jian Wushuang smiled and pointed in the direction of the Black Blood Emperor. Go! In an instant, the 5-meter-long black divine sword, which was emitting a shocking power, pierced through the void and shot out. The black divine sword left a perfect arc in the void, giving people the feeling that it was a beautiful black sword light. The sword light was absolutely beautiful and intoxicating. It was the third level of the Samsara sword formation, Samsara intoxication. When Jian Wushuang was only at the peak divine master level in the Pill Sun sacred world, he had relied on the third level of the sword formation to fight against the Marquis of Three Yin. Now that he had broken through from the peak divine master level to the initial great divine master level, the power of the sword formation had been greatly enhanced. Chapter 2868, Killing on the Spot. The moment the third reincarnation sword formation was completely formed, the Black Blood Emperor had already sensed the terrifying power contained within the sword formation. When the sword formation truly attacked, the Black Blood Emperor's expression had already become extremely grave. His body was suffused with a large number of black air currents, and boundless darkness once again swept out. Amidst the darkness that filled the sky, a dark giant that was 1,000 feet tall appeared out of thin air. This dark giant's aura was majestic. He held a black battle saber tightly in his hand. As the battle saber in the hands of the Black Blood Emperor waved, the dark giant raised the battle saber in his hand at the same time and suddenly slashed out. Bang! A loud sound rang out. The dark giant was shaken by the terrifying power of the sword formation and staggered back a few steps. However, The reincarnation sword formation only lasted for a moment before the 5-meter-long black divine sword once again shot out explosively. Bang! 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 The dark giant tried his best to resist the onslaught again. However, after only 5 onslaughts, the dark giant could not withstand the powerful impact and directly collapsed. The 5-meter-long black divine sword continued to charge toward the Black Blood Emperor with shocking power. This sword formation is so powerful. Although the Black Blood Emperor was shocked, he did not panic. He quickly retreated and slashed out with his saber, repelling the sword formation again. However, at this moment, Jian Wushuang, who had been controlling the reincarnation sword formation in the void in front of him, also moved. He appeared in front of the Black Blood Emperor and unleashed his space-time swordsmanship. He fully displayed his swordsmanship while the reincarnation sword formation charged at the Black Blood Emperor again and again. The perfect combination of the two, the Black Blood Emperor instantly felt the pressure multiply. I'm in big trouble. This kid's strength is extremely powerful and his swordsmanship is extremely high. He won't be at a disadvantage when fighting me in close combat. His sword formation is also extremely powerful. When the two combine, I'm no match for him. The Black Blood Emperor's expression had become quite unsightly. If Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship could be separated from the reincarnation sword formation, he would not be afraid of either. But now, with the perfect combination of the two, he could withstand Jian Wushuang's close-range swordsmanship, but it was difficult for him to defend against the attack of the Samsara sword formation. The Black Blood Emperor was completely suppressed by Jian Wushuang. He had tried his best to exert his strength to the maximum, but he was still suppressed by Jian Wushuang. Moreover, Jian Wushuang's advantage was still expanding under this suppression. Oh no, I can't hold on any longer. The Black Blood Emperor's face changed drastically. He could barely withstand the impact of the reincarnation sword formation, but at this time, Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword came straight at him, but he did not have time to swing his saber to block it. He had no choice but to rely on his powerful body protection to find a way to take this sword head-on. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from his body. The black robe on the Black Blood Emperor's body instantly turned into black armor. The black armor covered the Black Blood Emperor's entire body. There were even some black halos around his body. The aura of a top-tier heavenly treasure was emitted from the armor. The Black Blood Emperor relaxed slightly when he saw the powerful power of the black armor. He had obtained the black armor by chance. Although it was only at the superior divine treasure level, it was definitely the best of the best among the superior divine treasures. Its value was almost comparable to a special treasure at the superior divine treasure level. The black armor was his most powerful protective means, and he was quite confident in its protective ability. He believed that no matter how powerful Jian Wushuang's next attack was, after being weakened by the black armor, it would at most be able to injure him, but not seriously. As for killing him, it was impossible. But soon, his expression completely froze. As soon as the blade of Jian Wushuang's scarlet longsword touched the protective armor on his body, his extremely confident protective armor was immediately torn apart like a piece of paper. The protective armor was torn apart, so it did not pose much of an obstacle to the scarlet longsword. The scarlet longsword mercilessly cut through the divine body of the Black Blood Emperor and flew out from the other end. In an instant, the divine body of the Black Blood Emperor was cut into 2 pieces. His vitality had begun to dissipate. The Black Blood Emperor's eyes were still wide open, but his face was filled with horror and disbelief. Yes, it was unbelievable. He could not imagine that Jian Wushuang's sword could kill him directly. He also did not expect that his protective armor, which was considered the best among the top-tier heavenly treasures, would be so vulnerable to Jian Wushuang's sword light. It's a sword, it's his sword. Before he died, the Black Blood Emperor looked at the scarlet long sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. The scarlet long sword looked ordinary, but it did not emit much aura or power. Even during the battle, the Black Blood Emperor could feel that the scarlet longsword's power was extraordinary, but he did not think too much about it. But now, before he died, the Black Blood Emperor understood. Holy treasure! This sword is a holy treasure, and it's extremely sharp and extremely powerful. The Black Blood Emperor growled in his heart, but his eyes dimmed completely. Jian Wushuang stood in the void and looked down at the Black Blood Emperor's corpse, which had been broken into 2 pieces. His face was extremely cold. Marquis of 3 Yin, who fought with me in the Pill Sun Sacred World, was not weak in the first stage of the invincible Divine Master, but I could still fight with him. Now that I've broken through to the level of an elementary Great Divine Master, the Blood Mountain Sword has undergone a transformation. Its power has increased tenfold, and its overall combat strength is dozens of times stronger than before. Especially the Blood Mountain Sword, it has more than the power of a holy treasure. The most important thing is that its blade is too sharp. A protective armor at the level of a superior divine treasure is like a piece of paper in front of my Blood Mountain Sword. There's no way to defend against it. After killing the Black Blood Emperor, Jian Wushuang was not too excited. After all, he knew that his current combat strength had long surpassed that of an ordinary invincible divine master. Even if the Black Blood Emperor had reached the 2nd stage among invincible divine masters, he was still no match for Jian Wushuang. Moreover, he had not used his full strength just now. He had not used many of his trump cards. He had only relied on his swordsmanship and the reincarnation sword formation to kill the Black Blood Emperor. His real combat strength could be even stronger. Chapter 2869, Young Master Chu's trump card. The Black Blood Emperor is dead. Next, it's him. Jian Wushuang looked at young Master Chu coldly. He knew very well that the 4 Divine Masters and Black Blood Emperor were just following orders. Young Master Chu was the one who wanted to kill him. Jian Wushuang had thought that young Master Chu would be terrified after seeing him kill the Black Blood Emperor. However, what surprised him was the look on his face. He was indeed very surprised that Jian Wushuang could kill the Black Blood Emperor. However, he was not too frightened. What kind of trump card does young Master Chu have? Jian Wushuang could not help thinking. At this moment, young Master Chu's eyes were fixed on the Blood Mountain Sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. It's this sword. It's so sharp and terrifying. I know how strong the Black Blood Emperor's body protection is. The body protection armor on his body is an absolute top-grade heavenly treasure, but in front of this sword, it was torn apart like a piece of paper. This sword, young Master Chu's eyes lit up. He had already thought of a possibility. It seems that the sword principal weapon you asked Lord Mo to refine should be this sword in your hand. Young Master Chu said excitedly. Master Chu, I'm very curious. What else can you rely on to face me so calmly without running away? Aren't you afraid that he'll kill you? Jian Wushuang also looked at Master Chu. Kill me? Do you dare? Master Chu smiled coldly. Jian Yi, don't forget that my father is World Lord Tian Chu, has an extremely powerful immortal saint and his methods are very good. Although he'll be furious that you killed the Black Blood Emperor, he might not kill you personally. But if he dares to attack me again, I dare to say that my father will kill you at all costs. Do you think you can escape then? This is what you rely on. Do you want to use your father to intimidate me? Jian Wushuang's face was very cold. Of course not. Young Master Chu shook his head slightly and then took out a token. The token looked ordinary, and when it appeared in young Master Chu's hand, Jian Wushuang immediately sensed an extremely terrifying aura from it. This aura made his heart palpitate. There was no doubt that this aura came from the immortal saint. Jian Yi, you should be able to see what this token is. Young Master Chu smiled. That's right. This token is a life-saving token that my father personally refined for me. During this period, it contains the power of one blow from my father. It's enough to kill any divine master, including the invincible divine master. If you have the guts, you can give it a try. Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. He finally understood why young Master Chu was so confident. It turned out that he had such a trump card. The token that contained the power of one strike from Realm Lord Tian Chu was the power of one strike from the immortal saint. Realm Lord Tian Chu was well known in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow and was an extremely powerful immortal saint. His power was below that of the immortal saint. Not many people could survive. After all, the gap between the immortal saint and the divine master was too big. Jian Wushuang had already possessed the combat strength of an invincible divine master when he was in the Pill Sun sacred world. Now that his realm had broken through and his Blood Mountain sword had undergone a transformation, his overall strength had increased by nearly 100 times, but even so, he did not think that he was qualified to fight with an immortal saint. However, that did not mean that Jian Wushuang was afraid of Realm Master Tian Chu. Master Chu, it seems that Realm Master Tian Chu really dotes on you. He just came to Dragon Phoenix Pavilion to attend the ceremony. Not only did he arrange for you to be protected by an invincible divine master and 4 peak divine masters, but he also refined a life-saving talisman for you. However, you are destined to be disappointed. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. A majestic killing intent slowly rose from his body. Sensing this majestic killing intent, young Master Chu's expression could not help but change. Jian Yi, do you really want to die? Although young Master Chu had absolute confidence in his life-saving command talisman, to be exact, he had absolute confidence in his father. However, even with his father's ability, it was not easy for him to personally refine such a life-saving command talisman. Therefore, he hoped that Jian Wushuang would give up so that he could not use this trump card. But now, courting death. Haha, young Master Chu, you think too highly of yourself. Jian Wushuang sneered. The majestic killing intent had completely covered young Master Chu. At the same time, a large amount of golden divine power surged out from the surface of Jian Wushuang's body. In an instant, it formed a huge golden emperor phantom behind Jian Wushuang, which was at least 30,000 feet tall. Jian Wushuang finally used his secret skill, Divine Punishment. As soon as Divine Punishment was used, Jian Wushuang's strength soared again, but his body had already rushed out. Seeing this, young Master Chu finally did not hesitate anymore. Go to hell! With a powerful shout, young Master Chu directly crushed the life-saving token in his hand. In an instant, a world-shaking and terrifying power suddenly erupted. This power was much more powerful than the full power of an ordinary divine master or even an invincible divine master. It was definitely at the level of an immortal saint, and among them, it was definitely not weak. Rumble. The sky and earth changed color, and the entire void was shaking crazily. Under the guidance of young Master Chu, this sudden burst of terrifying power suddenly turned into a towering hand. The towering hand opened its fingers and directly grabbed at Jian Wushuang. Wherever it passed, a crisp explosion sounded in the void. Jian Wushuang, who was moving, felt that a terrifying power had completely covered and sealed him, making him lose any chance to escape. The towering hand finally covered Jian Wushuang and suddenly clenched. An explosive power was activated, as if it could crush an entire world. Jian Wushuang was completely submerged by the overwhelming terrifying power. In the void next to him, Master Chu stood there and looked at the giant hand in front of him, which was destroying everything. A cold smile appeared on his face. Father, this is father's strength. Jian Yi really deserves to die. He thought that he was amazing enough to kill the Black Blood Emperor, but he didn't know that he was no different from an ant in front of father. If father wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as squashing an ant. Chapter 2870. Killing young Master Chu. Looking at the earth-shattering power in front of him, young Master Chu's eyes were filled with extreme fanaticism. This fanaticism was his admiration for his father. The undying sage, the true overlord of the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, was much stronger than the reverent god. All below the sage were ants. This sentence was definitely not casually said. Wong tilde. The power that filled the sky finally dissipated completely. That piece of void slowly revealed its original appearance. Is he dead? Young Master Chu stood on the spot, staring at the void in front of him. But at this moment, a powerful sword intent swept out mercilessly, annihilating the many powers in the surroundings. Following that, a human figure slowly stepped out and appeared in front of the young Master Chu once again. The power of the immortal saint's strike is indeed impressive. Jian Wushuang praised, but there was a faint smile on his face and a mocking look on his face. Young Master Chu, who had been confident and had absolute confidence in the life-saving command talisman refined by his father, suddenly turned pale. How is this possible? Young Master Chu stared at Zhen Wushuang with wide eyes, as if he could not believe what was happening. He also could not believe that his father had made this life-saving command talisman himself. Moreover, his father had told him not to use the life-saving command talisman unless it was a life-or-death situation. Once he used the power of the command talisman, no one below the immortal saint could survive, even the invincible divine masters could not survive. He believed his father's words. But now, Jian Yi had survived the power of the command token. Not only did he survive, but he also looked like he did not have any wounds. Yes, he was not injured at all, and his aura had been magnificent. Obviously, Zhen Wushuang did not suffer from the power of the command token. This made Master Chu feel incredulous. However, no matter how shocked he was, the truth had already happened. He had used his last trump card, the life-saving token, but Zhen Wushuang did not die. So what happened next? Master Chu, it seems that you will die in the end, Zhen Wushuang said with a cold smile. No, no. Master Chu immediately became terrified, and his eyes were full of fear. Jian Yi, my father is World Lord Tian Chu, and he has always doted on me. If you dare to kill me, my father will never let you go. You have just said that. Zhen Wushuang sneered. He did not want to pay any attention to him at all, and his body had already floated forward. Jian Yi, please, let me go. Whatever conditions you have, just say it. No matter what conditions you have, I will agree to them. Even if I can't do it, I will ask my father to do it himself, as long as you are willing to let me go. Master Chu's face was crazy, and he kept crying and shouting. He no longer looked like the elegant young master he used to be. His heart was trembling. Seeing this, the mockery in Zhen Wushuang's eyes became even stronger. I'm not interested in your conditions. Just die. Zhen Wushuang had already appeared in front of Master Chu, and the Blood Mountain sword in his hand had already been brandished. No. Jian Yi, my father will avenge me, he will. Young Master Chu's roar was hysterical. As soon as his voice fell, his head was thrown away. Looking at young Master Chu's body, Zhen Wushuang smiled. He is about to die, but he still used World Master Tian Chu to suppress me. He thinks I don't dare to kill him. What a joke. Zhen Wushuang admitted that World Master Tian Chu was indeed very strong. This could be seen from the power of the life-saving command talisman just now. The huge hand just now had indeed completely crushed Zhen Wushuang, and Zhen Wushuang had no room to fight back. He knew that he could not face World Master Tian Chu directly, but so what? He could not face him head-on, but World Master Tian Chu did not have the ability to kill him. So what did he have to worry about? The young master of World Master Tian Chu has such a big background, so he must have a lot of treasures. Black Blood Emperor, who was just killed by me, and the 4 great divine masters must be very rich. I'll look for them carefully later. I'd better leave now. Zhen Wushuang put away the interspatial rings of young Master Chu and the others, then he flew into the void and soon disappeared. Not long after Zhen Wushuang left, 2 figures suddenly appeared in the void. One was old, and the other was young. They were Kai Ming, the young master of the Point Star Pavilion, and the immortal saint who was following him. They looked around the void. The bodies of young Master Chu and the others had been destroyed by Zhen Wushuang, but Kai Ming and the immortal saint still looked very strange. When I met Jian Yi in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, I sensed that he was very strong and could even kill me easily. That's why I stopped fighting with him. Now it seems that I was right. Kai Ming took a deep breath, he sighed quietly. He killed 4 divine masters at the peak of the divine realm and Black Blood Emperor by himself. This young man is indeed very strong. The black-robed elder nodded slightly. After leaving the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, young Master Chu immediately brought people to chase after Zhen Wushuang. In fact, Kai Ming and the black-robed elder followed him, but they did not show up. However, they saw everything that had just happened, including Zhen Wushuang, killing the 4 peak divine masters, killing Black Blood Emperor, surviving young Master Chu's strongest trump card, and finally killing young Master Chu. They saw everything clearly. First of all, Zhen Wushuang killing the 4 peak divine masters did not surprise them. After all, an ordinary invincible divine master could easily kill a peak divine master, which meant that Jian Wushuang had the combat strength of an invincible divine master. However, it was surprising that Jian Wushuang had killed the Black Blood Emperor. It was rare to see an invincible divine master in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Every single one of them was very strong and had many skills. Under normal circumstances, unless the immortal saint personally killed them, it would be too difficult to kill an invincible divine master. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to kill an invincible divine master in a one-on-one situation. As for the Black Blood Emperor, he was not weak among invincible divine masters and had already entered the 2nd stage. His comprehension of the rules had reached the level of the immortal saint, so it was naturally more difficult to kill him. However, he was easily killed by Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2871. Fury Black Blood Emperor is already an invincible divine master in the 2nd stage. Even those who have reached the immortal saint level in their comprehension of the rules and have created an absolute art in the saint level cannot kill him. As for Jian Yi, his comprehension of the rules and the absolute art he created are not very strong. The black-robed elder was a real immortal saint. He had seen the battle clearly, so he could see Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the rules. The absolute arts he had created were only at the level of an ordinary invincible divine master. Compared with the Black Blood Emperor, not even close. Although his laws and techniques are not as powerful as the Black Blood Emperor's, the power of Jian Yi is much stronger than the Black Blood Emperor's. Furthermore, he has the reincarnation sword formation. However, the most important thing is the divine weapon in his hand. That sword is very powerful. It's definitely not just an ordinary divine weapon. The black-robed elder narrowed his eyes. I just heard Chu Hong talking about the Fire Cloud Castle and Mo Dao. Could it be that the Sword Dao divine weapon that Mo Dao refined with the Holy Heavenly Furnace not long ago is the sword in his hand? You mean the Sword Dao treasure that Lord Mo refined previously and shook the entire Golden Crow 9 realms? Kai Ming was immediately shocked. I heard from Master that Lord Mo rarely refined treasures with the Holy Heavenly Furnace over the years. The last time, he refined it to help Lord Bone Emperor refine a special treasure. This time, although no one knows what the Sword Dao treasure is, it must be of an extremely high level. Its value might not be lower than Lord Bone Emperor's special treasure. How could such a treasure be in the hands of a mere deity? I don't know, the black-robed elder said in a low voice. However, even if the divine weapon in Jian Yi's hand isn't the treasure Mo Dao refined, it is definitely a very powerful sacred treasure. If such a sacred treasure were to be in the hands of an undying sage who specializes in the Dao of the sword, its power would definitely be even stronger. Kai Ming frowned. If that's the case, why didn't you kill Jian Yi just now and snatch the divine weapon? Kai Ming asked with a frown. They had been around just now. If the black-robed elder had attacked, Jian Yi definitely would not have been able to escape. However, when he heard Kai Ming's words, the black-robed elder shook his head slightly. Jian Yi isn't that simple. Just now, Chu Hong took out his life-saving jade talisman at the last moment. That life-saving jade talisman contained the power of a single strike from the Tianchu Realm Lord. It was extremely powerful, yet it wasn't able to injure even a single hair on the sword. Although I don't know how he did it, since he was able to easily block a single strike from the Tianchu Realm Lord, even if this old man personally acted, I don't think I would be able to take him down. Elder Su, you can't even take him down with your own hands? Kai Ming could not help but be shocked. Elder Su, this was a genuine immortal saint. The gap between the immortal saint and the reverent god was simply insurmountable. Logically, no reverent god should be able to escape with an immortal saint taking action personally. But now, this Elder Su actually did not have the confidence to take down Jian Yi. Was Jian Yi really that powerful? I am indeed not confident that I can do anything to him. Moreover, I have a hunch that Jian Yi still has many trump cards hidden on him. These trump cards are all extraordinary, and even I have some misgivings about them. Therefore, it is better not to provoke him unless it is absolutely necessary, said the black-robed elder. In that case, are we just going to sit idly by and watch as Lord Mo personally forged this powerful Sword Dao weapon? Kai Ming frowned. That's not the case. The black-robed elder smiled. If I didn't see wrongly, that young Master Chu wasn't just begging for mercy before he died. At the same time, he had already secretly sent a message to his father, World Overlord Tian Chu, informing him of his death. Not only is that World Overlord Tian Chu extremely powerful, he's one of the hardest to deal with amongst the Undying Saints. He's also famous for spoiling his son. If not, he wouldn't have paid such a huge price to help his son pursue the young phoenix. Now that Chu Hong is dead, that World Overlord Tian Chu will definitely be furious. He might even immediately move to the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City to find Jian Yi and avenge his son. At that time, we only need to watch from the side. Once we know the truth about Jian Yi and find an opportunity, it won't be too late for us to act. That's all we can do. Kai Ming nodded. After all, the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City was a territory under the control of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, not the Starpoint Sacred City where his Starpoint Pavilion was located. Here, the experts of his Starpoint Pavilion would more or less have some misgivings. This time, it was also because of the opening of the Dragon Phoenix rankings that the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion allowed the Undying Sage of the Starpoint Pavilion to openly appear in the city. But if they wanted to look for help from the Starpoint Pavilion now, if the Starpoint Pavilion were to send a second Undying Sage, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion would definitely not sit idly by. There was no other way. Since the black-robed old man was not confident of taking down Jian Yi with a single glance, they could only hope that World Overlord Tian Chu would be able to rush over and reap the benefits. Golden Crow 9 Realms, Tian Chu Realm. In terms of territory, the Tian Chu Realm was definitely one of the top 3 realms in the Golden Crow 9 Realms. It was slightly larger than the Heavenly Void Realm and had more experts. And compared to the Pill Sun Sacred World, it was naturally much stronger. The Heaven Curve World Overlord was one of the publicly acknowledged peak experts in the Golden Crow 9 Realms. His fame was so great that countless years ago, he had already caused people to revere him. In addition, the Heaven Curve World Overlord had always been tyrannical and unruly. In the entire Golden Crow 9 Realms, other than the Supreme Lord Bone Emperor, there was not a single Undying Sage that could cause him to feel fear. Within a boundless starry space, a burly middle-aged man dressed in a violet gold robe with an incomparably violent aura akin to a brown bear, World Overlord Tian Chu, suddenly opened his eyes. Boundless rage instantly rose up as a shocking killing intent erupted out, filling the entire starry space. He's dead. Hong was actually killed. Sword 1. It was Jian Yi who killed Hong. Realm Lord Tian Chu's eyes were cold, filled with boundless killing intent. And he was not unfamiliar with the name Jian Yi. Back at Fire Cloud Castle, that young Master Chu was there. He had personally witnessed Mo Dao using the holy heavenly furnace to refine treasures. At that time, young Master Chu had suspected this person called Jian Yi and even told him about it, but he did not take it to heart. After all, he was only an advanced Great Divine Master. How could he have the ability to ask the number 1 refiner of the 9 realms of the Golden Crow to refine a divine weapon of that level? But now. Chapter 2872. Beginning the refinement, easily killing the 4 peak Great Divine Masters that I placed beside Hong, killing the Black Blood Emperor, and even surviving my attack, killing Hong in the end. Good, good. It's very good in front of everyone. Realm Master Tian Chu clenched his hands tightly, but his body was trembling in anger. Hong, just you wait. I'll avenge you soon. Realm Master Tian Chu growled. Soon, he moved directly toward the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. After killing young Master Chu and the others, Jian Wushuang left as fast as he could. In the void, Jian Wushuang was checking the treasures in the interspatial rings of young Master Chu and the others. It had to be said that Realm Lord Tian Chu really doted on Master Chu. Master Chu was only a senior Great Divine Master, but his wealth was much higher than that of an ordinary invincible Divine Master. Just the ready-made Saint Elixirs alone, he had 300,000 of them, as well as various resources and various magic weapons and treasures. They were also extremely valuable. As for the Black Blood Emperor, although he was an invincible Divine Master, his wealth was much lower than Master Chu's. However, he still had more than 100,000 Saint Elixirs and a lot of resources and treasures. In addition to the wealth of the 4 Great Divine Masters, Jian Wushuang had obtained 500,000 saint elixirs and countless resources and treasures. Unfortunately, these people, including Master Chu's interspatial ring, did not have any particularly valuable treasures. There was no treasure that was so precious that Jian Wushuang was moved or useful to him. Jian Wushuang could do nothing about it. Now, he has a lot of treasures, and the level is very high. Ordinary treasures, for him, really has no attraction. I got 2 million sacred elixirs from Brother Mo after absorbing all of them. Not only did I break through to the elementary divine master level, but I also accumulated more than half of my divine power. Now, I have 500,000 sacred elixirs. If I devour all of them, although I still can't break through to the advanced divine master level, my divine power will improve a lot and I'll be one step closer to the advanced divine master level. Jian Wushuang smiled. Although killing young Master Chu and the others would cause him some trouble, and he might even be hunted down by the Tian Chu Realm Lord, it was a good deal for him to get so many sacred elixirs at once. Jian Wushuang was in deep thought when suddenly, "Jian Yi, my friend." A message was transmitted to him. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he immediately took out a token. This token was given to him by Mo Dao, the #1 blacksmith in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, who had already reached the 8th grade. "Brother Mo, are you looking for me today to start refining that domain-type holy treasure?" Jian Wushuang's voice carried a trace of joy. "Haha, you guessed it right, my friend. Over the past 10 years, I have completely recovered my mind, and I have also consolidated my breakthrough in the weapon refining realm. Now everything is ready, and I can start refining. If you are not busy, you can come to my fire cloud castle. If you can't leave, it doesn't matter. After I have finished refining, you can come and take it." Mo Dao smiled. His attitude was extremely warm and amiable. "Well, I'll come over now." Jian Wushuang smiled. He immediately left for Fire Cloud Castle. When he came back to Fire Cloud Castle, Bai Yang had already received the news and was waiting outside. When Jian Wushuang arrived, Bai Yang quietly brought Jian Wushuang into Fire Cloud Castle and came to Mo Dao. "Brother Mo." Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. "My friend Jian Yi, it's been more than 10 years since we last met. Your strength has grown. I heard that not long ago in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, you made a name for yourself and even made that young phoenix look at you differently." Mo Dao looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. "Brother Mo, you also know about this?" Jian Wushuang was surprised. Although he had not made a move in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, his appearance had attracted a lot of attention. After all, he had asked the young phoenix to ask his name. "Mr. Jian Yi, since the Dragon Phoenix list has been opened, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has invited our Fire Cloud Castle to attend the ceremony. Although the master was not free and did not go in person, he sent an in-name disciple to go. After he came back, the in-name disciple told me about the matter and then I would pass it on to Master," Bai Yang said. "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang understood. "Well, my young friend Jian Yi, the main reason for inviting you here is to refine the domain-type holy treasure." "But what do you want from this domain-type holy treasure?" Mo Dao asked. "If you want it, try to make it more powerful and easier to control. Because I know several domain-type methods myself. I hope these domain-type methods can work perfectly with the domain-type holy treasure and complement each other, so as not to repel each other and affect its power," Jian Wushuang said. There were all kinds of strange domains in the domain, and even if they were used by the same person, it would be difficult for them not to be repelled. Jian Wushuang could only try to reduce the repelling. "I understand. However, the activation of a domain-type treasure will consume a lot of divine power. The higher the level, the more powerful the domain-type treasure will be. If you need a more powerful one, I can do my best. But you also have to consider whether your divine power can keep up with it," Mo Dao said. He was also giving Jian Wushuang a suggestion. After all, Jian Wushuang was only a peak divine master. It was not easy for a normal peak divine master to control a domain-type holy treasure, and that was just the ordinary power. If Jian Wushuang wanted the power to be stronger, it would require more divine power. "Don't worry about divine power. I have a special constitution, so I have enough divine power," Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Mo Dao recalled Jian Wushuang's blood essence. He knew that Zhen Wushuang was not an ordinary person, so he nodded secretly. If these are the only requirements, then I can start refining now. However, I don't plan to use the holy heavenly furnace this time. After all, once I use the holy heavenly furnace, it will cause too much trouble. Last time, when I added the blood essence to the divine sword, it caused a lot of trouble. Many experts came to me, so I spent a lot of effort to get rid of them, Mo Dao said with a smile. Moreover, I am now a genuine 8th grade blacksmith. Even if I don't use the holy heavenly furnace, I can still refine a suitable domain-type holy treasure for you. Chapter 2873. The peak of the 3rd grade and 8th grade weapon refiners' weapon-making skills were far superior to those of the previous top 7th grade weapon refiners. Mo Dao was also absolutely confident. It was indeed not difficult for him to refine a domain-type holy treasure now. However, it will take me some time to refine a domain-type holy treasure even if I do it myself. The conservative estimate is that it will take about 3 years. If you have nothing else to do, you can stay in my fire cloud castle for 3 years. I will ask Bai Yang to take good care of you. 3 years later, I guarantee that I will deliver a powerful domain-type holy treasure to you, Mo Dao said. In that case, I'll have to trouble you, Brother Mo, Zhen Wushuang said with a smile. No worries. Mo Dao waved his hand and said, Disciple, please take good care of your friend. Yes. Bai Yang nodded respectfully and left with Zhen Wushuang. Meanwhile, Mo Dao had already started refining. Mr. Zhen Yi, Master has instructed you to let me know if you have any instructions during these 3 years. Bai Yang was very polite. Haha, I don't have any instructions. How about this, Mr. Bai Yang, please arrange a secret room for me. I have something to do and I want to go into closed-door cultivation. When Brother Mo refines the treasure 3 years later, just let me know, Zhen Wushuang said. Okay. Bai Yang nodded. Bai Yang immediately arranged a secret room for Zhen Wushuang in Fire Cloud Castle. The secret room was completely sealed, and there were powerful restrictions around it. No one would disturb Zhen Wushuang. The reason why Zhen Wushuang chose the secret room was naturally to refine the 500,000 holy pills he got from young Master Chu and the others. After he reached the rank of Great Divine Master, his speed of devouring and refining skyrocketed again. 3 years should be enough for him to refine all 500,000 saint elixirs. By then, his divine power would be able to improve significantly. Time passed. 3 years passed in a flash. In the secret chamber, Zhen Wushuang had already refined all 500,000 saint elixirs. Now, he was relying on the 2 heaven-sealing scrolls to continue to comprehend the rules and his sword principle. Whether it was his comprehension of sword principle or the rules, he had already reached the limit of Divine Master. One more step and he would be an immortal saint. However, it was very difficult to take this step. Even a peerless genius like Zhen Wushuang, with the help of the heaven-sealing scroll, would not be able to take this step easily. However, as he comprehended, Zhen Wushuang also found that his bottleneck in comprehending the sword principle and the spacetime rules were somewhat loosened. What he lacked now was an opportunity. As long as he had a slight opportunity, his comprehension of the sword principle and the spacetime rules might be able to directly break through to the immortal saint level. At that time, his battle strength would soar again. I can't rush it. I have to take it slow, Zhen Wushuang muttered in his heart. But at this moment, buzz. A powerful treasure aura suddenly burst out from the depths of the Fire Cloud Castle. This aura was very shocking. It was obviously a powerful holy treasure. There was an immediate commotion in the Fire Cloud Castle. They also knew that it must be the Lord of the Fire Cloud Castle. Since Lord Mo had refined a very powerful holy treasure, Zhen Wushuang was naturally alarmed. Is it done? Zhen Wushuang's eyes lit up and he immediately walked out of the secret room. As soon as he walked out of the secret room, Zhen Wushuang saw Bai Yang hurriedly running toward him. Mr. Zhen Yi, my master sent a message, asking me to take you there immediately, Bai Yang said. Well, let's go. Zhen Wushuang immediately followed Bai Yang to the place where Mo Dao refined the holy treasure. Once there, Zhen Wushuang saw a special treasure floating in the void. It was a scarlet compass that seemed to be completely condensed from blood. The compass was engraved with complicated secret patterns and exotic beasts, which looked extremely mysterious. The powerful aura of the treasure was emitted from the scarlet compass. Jian Yi, this is the treasure I refined for you. Refine it first, then test its power, Mo Tao's voice sounded. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly and appeared in front of the scarlet compass. He immediately recognized it as his master. The compass was obviously a holy treasure with extraordinary power. Jian Wushuang was only a great divine master. Normally, it would take a long time to refine such a treasure, but this was only for ordinary great divine masters. However, Jian Wushuang was different. The process of refining the scarlet compass was very easy. In just a moment, he had completely controlled the compass. Let's give it a try. There was a hint of expectation in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Immediately, a large amount of divine power was poured into the compass, and the scarlet compass immediately burst out with bursts of blood light. Buzz! Buzz! The bursts of blood light completely turned into a blood-red river and swept out in all directions. In an instant, the entire world was covered by the blood-red river. The blood-red river was vast and powerful. It moved people's minds and occupied everything in the world. The entire world became completely blood-red. It's not easy to activate a domain-type holy treasure. It consumes a lot of divine power, but it's nothing to me. The power of this holy treasure, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. The blood-red river that occupied everything in the world, it immediately burst out with terrifying power and began to press down in one direction. The terrifying pressure was applied to the void. It seemed that the void could not withstand the pressure and was about to explode completely. This power, although it doesn't really affect the body of the cultivator and cannot be fully manifested, I can feel that the pressure of the blood-red river's domain is definitely dozens of times, or even nearly 100 times stronger than the golden light domain used by the golden feather illusionary light mirror. Jian Wushuang was secretly shocked. Jian Yi, try to drive the blood river domain toward me, Mo Dao said. Brother Mo, you have to be careful. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately urged the blood river to crazily press toward Mo Dao. Under the crazy pressure of the blood river, even a genuine immortal saint like Mo Dao was slightly shocked, but a smile appeared on his face. That's enough, Mo Dao said. Jian Wushuang immediately put away the blood river domain. Brother Mo, how do you feel? Jian Wushuang asked. It's really powerful. I once refined domain-type holy treasures and refined 3 of them, but they were only at the 3rd grade ordinary level. But now, after I became an 8th grade weapon refiner, the compass I refined should have reached the peak of the 3rd grade, Mo Dao said. Chapter 2874, 9 Universe Bloodlight River, a superior 3rd grade holy treasure? Jian Wushuang was delighted. It is indeed a superior 3rd grade domain-type holy treasure. Even I was suppressed by the blood-red river and my overall strength was reduced by more than 10%. This is because you are only a divine master. If an immortal saint used it, the suppression would be even more terrifying, Mo Dao said. Even Brother Mo's strength has been suppressed by more than 10%. Jian Wushuang's body trembled. Mo Dao was not only an 8th grade weapon refiner but also a very powerful immortal saint. Among the immortal saints of the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, he was also one of the strongest ones. Even he was suppressed by more than 10% of his strength. Jian Wushuang knew a lot of domain-type techniques. If he fully activated the Red River domain, coupled with the suppression of the Star Armor domain, the Prison of Punishment, and his Sword Principal World, then an ordinary immortal saint would be suppressed by more than 20% of his strength. Under the pressure of the 4 domains, his strength would be suppressed by at least 20%. If his realm improved in the future and his divine power improved again, the power of the domain would be even more terrifying. Good treasure. Thank you, Brother Mo, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. You're welcome. Mo Dao just smiled faintly. By the way, this compass has just been refined. I haven't given it a name yet. Now that you're its owner, you can give it a name. A name? Jian Wushuang pondered and said, once this compass is activated, it immediately forms a real bloodlight and then turns into a blood-red river. I think it can be called the Bloodlight River. Bloodlight River? It's not bad, but the 3 words are too monotonous. How about this? I'll add the 2 words 9 universe before. The name of the 9 universe Bloodlight River should be more domineering, Mo Dao said with a smile. 9 universe Bloodlight River, good name. Jian Wushuang immediately smiled and touched the scarlet compass. From today on, you will be called the 9 universe Bloodlight River. The 9 universe Bloodlight River, a superior 3rd-grade domain-type holy treasure, was born. The power of the 9 universe Bloodlight River was very strong, and it greatly improved Jian Wushuang's overall strength. Unfortunately, domain-type treasures were not like natal armors and natal magic weapons, so they could not continuously increase their power according to their owner's strength. After a while, Jian Wushuang merged the 9 universe Bloodlight River into his divine body. Brother Mo, since the domain-type holy treasure has been refined, I won't stay any longer. I'll visit you again when I have time, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Okay, Bai Yang, send my friend Jian off for me, Mo Dao said gently. Bai Yang immediately led Jian Wushuang out of the fire cloud castle. When they came, Jian Wushuang came directly from the front door. When they left, they still went to the underground palace, so they could avoid some people with evil intentions. Mr. Jian Yi, I'll send you here. Bai Yang sent Jian Wushuang to the end of the underground palace. Thank you, Mr. Bai Yang. Goodbye. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately left. Jian Wushuang was flying slowly in the vast void alone. Suddenly, his expression changed. Huh! There are cultivators in such a remote place, and they are not weak either. It's a great divine master. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had already sensed the existence of a great divine master in the void not far away from him. However, he only paid a little attention to a senior great divine master and did not take it to heart. They did not meet and Jian Wushuang left immediately. What Jian Wushuang did not know was that he did not pay attention to the great divine master, but the latter kept staring at him. It's him, it's Jian Yi. The eyes of the gloomy and cold elder in a grey robe flashed with a trace of fierceness. I've long heard that Fire Cloud Castle is located in the depths of a volcano. There are many underground passages that lead to the vicinity of the Fire Cloud Castle. It seems that this is indeed the case. Fortunately, sir, you were careful. Otherwise, this kid would have really escaped. The elder gave a strange laugh and then took out his token to send a message. In the void, Jian Wushuang did not travel far after leaving the Fire Cloud Castle. Suddenly, boom! An extremely vast aura that even Jian Wushuang felt a little shocked appeared within his perception range. This aura is the aura of the immortal saint. Who is it? Jian Wushuang focused his eyes and immediately looked toward the source of the aura. He also found that the aura was approaching him at an alarming speed. Obviously, the other party was coming toward him. Soon, a figure appeared in Jian Wushuang's line of sight. It was a burly middle-aged man wearing a purple-gold robe. He had an extremely violent aura and looked like a brown bear. The middle-aged man was extremely fast. As the distance between him and Jian Wushuang continued to close, the killing intent emitted from his body became more and more intense. Such a strong killing intent is to seek revenge. I have just left the Pill Sun sacred world and haven't provoked many people. There is only one person who is so angry and crazy enough to chase after me, Realm Lord Tian Chu. Jian Wushuang instantly figured out the identity of the person. He knew the identity of the person and how much the person wanted to kill him. However, Jian Wushuang did not choose to run away immediately. Instead, he stood there quietly and waited for the arrival of Realm Lord Tian Chu. Soon, Realm Lord Tian Chu appeared in front of him. As soon as he appeared, the sky-shaking killing intent enveloped his body. Even Jian Wushuang, who had experienced endless waves and slaughter, felt the sky-shaking killing intent and his face became solemn. Jian Yi. World Master Tian Chu stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. World Master Tian Chu, right? How did you know that I would be here? Jian Wushuang asked. He had killed young Master Chu and guessed that World Master Tian Chu would come to kill him personally. He was not surprised that World Master Tian Chu would hunt him down. However, What surprised him was that World Master Tian Chu had found him so quickly. After killing young Master Chu, he immediately arrived at the Fire Cloud Castle. On the way here, he was extremely careful and did not easily reveal his identity. Even if he left the Fire Cloud Castle, he still took the underground passageway, but in the end, not long after he left the Fire Cloud Castle, he bumped into the Realm Lord. Clearly, the Realm Lord knew that he was in the Fire Cloud Castle and had been waiting for him here. And the great Divine Master he met on the way might very well be one of the Heavenly Curve Realm Lord's men. He had already set up spies around the Fire Cloud Castle in order to prevent him from escaping. Chapter 2875, Realm Lord Tian Chu Humph, can you imagine my methods? Realm Lord Tian Chu's voice was as cold as ice. Genyi, although you don't know me, you killed my Hong-er. Today, I will skin you alive and tear your bones apart so that I can vent my hatred. Kill me. Then I'll give it a try. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly, but there was no fear in his heart. On the contrary, there was a faint excitement on his face. Yes, he was indeed excited. Since he had broken through to the great Divine Master level and the power of the Blood Mountain Sword had soared, his strength had greatly improved. He did not think much of ordinary invincible Divine Masters. Even if they were extremely powerful invincible Divine Masters, he did not have much desire to fight. Like the Black Blood Emperor from before, he was also an unrivaled Divine Master at the second stage. However, he had only casually attacked. He had not used his full strength yet and still easily killed the Black Blood Emperor. Right now, his overall combat strength was already at the peak of unrivaled Divine Master. Even those legendary unrivaled Divine Master at the third stage, who were extremely rare, probably could not compare to him. His strength had reached this level, he could also try to challenge the Immortal Saint. Although he was certainly not as strong as the Immortal Saint, he really wanted to fight with the Immortal Saint. At least he had a clear understanding of the Immortal Saint's strength. Now, the World Master Tian Chu had come to him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Boundless divine power crazily swept up from Jian Wushuang's body. The divine power gathered rapidly behind him, and in the blink of an eye, a golden Emperor Phantom rose to the sky. The star power in his body had also been activated. At the same time, a layer of dark golden armor emerged on his body. 7-star secret skill, divine punishment, and 9 luminary star armor were all activated. When Jian Wushuang killed the Black Blood Emperor, he had only activated 7-star secret skills. Now that he had used all 3 secret skills, his battle strength had reached a whole new level. Especially the 9 luminary star armor, which had reached the treasured armor chapter. It was enough to increase his attack power 6 times. World Master Tian Chu, let me see how strong you are as an immortal saint. Jian Wushuang was full of fighting spirit and his voice was unusually cold. You're courting death. World Master Tian Chu also shouted in a low voice. A majestic divine power gathered in his hand and he slapped it. Boom. The world suddenly shook. In a flash, a towering giant palm fell from the sky. This giant palm was destructive and wanted to smash Jian Wushuang into dust. Looking at this giant palm and feeling the extremely terrifying destructive power of the rules contained in it, Jian Wushuang's eyes flickered with a strange look. The next moment, he drew his sword. He drew his sword casually as if he was an ordinary person wielding a wooden sword. However, when he drew his long sword, a sword light immediately lit up. This sword light was extremely weak, extremely dim, and incomplete. It was an incomplete light, a remnant light. The 8th move of spacetime swordsmanship, 1000 Directions Remnant Light. This was the ultimate technique created by the sword light. Under his full power, this sword light was so powerful that it seemed as if it could tear everything apart. When the huge palm that descended from the sky came into direct contact with this sword light, the tearing and killing power contained within the sword light, especially the Blood Mountain Sword, was too sharp. Even a top-tier heavenly treasure-level protective armor could be sliced apart like a piece of paper, let alone this huge palm in front of him. Hua lolo tilde a huge crack appeared in the center of the huge palm. This crack continued to expand and eventually, The entire palm was sliced apart by the sword light. The power of divine power filled the sky, as well as the endless destructive law energy, all of them frantically spread out towards the surrounding void. A divine master actually defeated my palm head-on. World Lord Tian Chu looked at this scene in shock. The difference between a divine master and an immortal saint was simply too huge. Such a difference was not something that could be easily made up for. Even the most supreme existences amongst deities, such as the legendary immortal saint who had comprehended the laws and even broke through to the third stage of the saint's absolute art, unrivaled divine master, amongst divine masters, they could already be considered the strongest. But even so, a third stage unrivaled divine master against a true immortal saint could only be easily crushed. The difference in divine power alone was too great. It was definitely tens or even hundreds of times greater. But now, the palm that he, Realm Lord Tian Chu, used with all his strength was actually defeated by his opponent. This kid's divine power is so strong. Realm Lord Tian Chu was shocked. He knew very well that the power that Jian Wushuang unleashed in order to defeat his palm was extraordinary. And that was indeed the case. Jian Wushuang was now a junior great divine master. Because of the special constitution created by the perfect chaotic creature, his divine power was far stronger than that of his peers. In addition, the primordial void celestial body had increased his divine power greatly, which made his basic divine power burst forth. He had reached the level of peak great divine master. But the secret skill that he used was too powerful. First was the 7-star secret skill. This secret skill allowed him to advance by a realm. It allowed him to temporarily reach the advanced Great Divine Master realm from the initial Great Divine Master realm. Naturally, his divine power soared. At that time, he had already surpassed an ordinary invincible divine master. The punishment divine master, who was 30,000 meters tall, also allowed his divine power to soar. In addition, there was the 9 luminaries star armor, which allowed his divine power to explode 6 times stronger. Finally, there was the Blood Mountain Sword. The power of the Blood Mountain Sword was almost comparable to that of a second-grade holy treasure, and it could increase the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship by 10 times. All of these added together, even if his power was not as strong as the immortal saints, the gap was very small. Just now, Realm Lord Tian Chu had casually struck with his palm, but Jian Wushuang had used the ultimate skill he had created. Moreover, his Blood Mountain Sword was extremely sharp. When the sword light came into contact with the giant palm, it was normal for the giant palm to be defeated. Under such circumstances, it would be strange if Jian Wushuang could not withstand a blow from Realm Lord Tian Chu. It seems that I have underestimated you. No wonder Honga died in your hands even though she had taken out her life-saving talisman. Realm Lord Tian Chu stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold gaze. Thank you for your praise. Although I am only a divine master, it will not be easy for you to kill me, Realm Lord Tian Chu. Jian Wushuang sneered. Is that so? Realm Master Tian Chu's voice sank, and his surging divine power and the power of the destruction rules surged again. Chapter 2876. The power of the realm. Although Jian Wushuang said it beautifully, he did not dare to underestimate him. After all, World Master Tian Chu did not use his full strength just now, but now. The divine power and the power of the destruction rules that spread out from his body made him feel a little scared. Is he going to use his secret skill? Jian Wushuang thought. Boom. A loud boom suddenly burst out between heaven and the earth. With lightning-like eyes, Realm Lord Tian Chu's right hand turned pitch black. In a flash, he struck out with his palm again. He also struck out with his palm, which also fell from the sky. However, the power and movement of this palm were not as great as the previous one. Moreover, the area covered by this palm was not as vast as before, and its size was much smaller. However, Jian Wushuang's eyes focused when he saw this palm strike. He could see that this palm had completely fused divine power and the power of destruction rules. The palm was filled with the power of thunder alone, and the power contained in it was definitely several times stronger than the previous palm strike. Realm Lord Tian Chu had already used his ultimate skill in this palm strike. Moreover, It was an ultimate skill at the saint level. Come on. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with fervor. Although he could feel that the power of this palm was extremely powerful and was not something he could withstand, he was still fearless. Divine power surged out of his body crazily. The 30,000-meter-tall golden emperor phantom was also staring at him. It held a golden long sword tightly in its hand. As Jian Wushuang waved the sword, the golden emperor phantom slashed out the golden sword in its hand. It was still the 8th move of the spacetime swordsmanship, thousand square-shaped light. Jian Wushuang also unleashed his strongest strength. The seemingly weak and dim sword light once again struck the palm of the giant palm. Whoosh! With the sharpness of the Blood Mountain sword, a crack still appeared in the palm of the giant palm. However, this time, the crack did not expand rapidly. Only a part of it was cracked open, and the Blood Mountain sword seemed to be stuck in the middle of the crack. Then, the giant palm continued to crush him with its destructive power. In an instant, it completely covered his entire body. Boom! The giant palm fell from the sky, crushed Jian Wushuang, and then smacked toward the ground below. Under this palm, a huge and boundless handprint immediately appeared on the ground below. This handprint was not only huge but also bottomless. Jian Wushuang had been completely slammed into the bottom of the handprint, and there was no movement for a moment. Is he dead? Realm Lord Tian Chu's aura was still extremely violent. His eyes were cold as he looked down at the deep and invisible handprint. But at this moment, bang, 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 a large amount of gravel flew out from the bottom of the handprint, and then a figure slowly rose up. It was Jian Wushuang who rose up again. At this moment, his figure was clearly in a sorry state, and the purple bell shield formed by the purple emperor bell had completely collapsed. However, although he was in a sorry state, Jian Wushuang's aura remained at its peak and did not weaken at all. There was still a faint smile on his face. No wonder you are World Master Tian Chu, and an immortal saint. Your skills are indeed incomparable to us divine masters, Jian Wushuang said. He was speaking the truth. Immortal saints are much stronger than divine masters. Although he was already heaven-defying enough to defeat World Master Tian Chu's attack, it was only a casual attack by the World Master Tian Chu. Once Realm Lord Tian Chu used his absolute art or other techniques, he would be able to completely crush Jian Wushuang. Perhaps, when my realm rises again and I reach the advanced divine master level, or my comprehension of the rules and sword principle rises to the immortal saint level, I will be able to fight with Realm Lord Tian Chu head-on, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He still had room for maneuver in this fight with Realm Lord Tian Chu. He still had 2 other trump cards that he had yet to use. These 2 trump cards were the Supreme Sword Essence in the Mountain River map and Blood Mountain Sword, and he had yet to use his domain. However, even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be able to fight against Realm Lord Tian Chu. However, if his strength, his comprehension of the rules, and sword principle improved again, it would be a different story. Realm Lord Tian Chu, I've learned a lot from today's battle. Farewell. Jian Wushuang laughed and then rushed to the back. You want to escape? Realm Lord Tian Chu burst out with a fierce aura. He instantly turned into a stream of light and chased after Jian Wushuang. As an immortal saint, Realm Lord Tian Chu was also very fast. At least, he was much faster than Jian Wushuang. You really want to kill me? Is that possible? Jian Wushuang chuckled and then moved his mind. A scarlet compass flew out of his divine body. As Jian Wushuang's divine power surged, the scarlet compass immediately burst out with bursts of blood light. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The blood light surged and turned into a huge blood-red river. The blood-red river was vast and mighty as it surged toward Realm Lord Tian Chu. This is a domain? The Realm Lord narrowed his eyes and sneered, a mere domain wants to stop me. How ridiculous. The Realm Lord did not care. After all, he was an immortal saint, and he was very strong among the immortal saints. Ordinary domain-type techniques did not affect him at all. Even a domain-type treasure at the level of a top-tier heavenly treasure could not affect him at all. Therefore, he was not worried that Jian Wushuang's domain could affect him. However, when the blood-red river came pressing down on him, the expression of Realm Master Tian Chu immediately changed. This domain, is so strong. My strength has been suppressed by more than 10% in an instant, and my speed has been greatly reduced. How is this possible? Realm Lord Tian Chu was shocked. Impossible. Even a domain-type treasure at the level of a top-tier heavenly treasure can't affect me. The Blood River realm is so powerful. Could it be a domain-type holy treasure? Yes, it must be a holy treasure. Jian Yi has a domain-type holy treasure on him. Realm Lord Tian Chu's eyes became even colder. Under the pressure of the 9-universe Bloodlight River, his speed was greatly reduced. However, he was still able to keep up with Zhen Wushuang's speed and was unable to be pulled away by him. He still did not give up on chasing after Zhen Wushuang. He's really persistent. In that case, Zhen Wushuang's lips curled slightly, and golden divine power swept across the sky in an instant. A layer of dark golden light covered his dark golden armor. A surge of supreme sword essence rose, and Zhen Wushuang's sword world immediately suppressed it. Chapter 2877, Joining Hands Star Armor Realm, Punishment Prison, Sword World, and 9-universe Bloodlight River. Zhen Wushuang had already exerted his realm techniques to the extreme. Under the pressure of 9-universe Bloodlight River, the strength and speed of World Lord Tian Chu had been greatly suppressed. Now, the pressure on him had increased sharply, and his strength had been suppressed by more than 20%. After all, he was an immortal saint. His speed had been greatly reduced again, and he could no longer keep up with Zhen Wushuang's speed. Ha, Realm Lord Tian Chu, we'll meet again. Zhen Wushuang's clear voice echoed in the world, but his figure kept pulling away from Realm Lord Tian Chu. Realm Lord Tian Chu had no choice but to stop and watch Zhen Wushuang leave. Soon, Zhen Wushuang completely disappeared from Realm Lord Tian Chu's sight. How could he escape? Realm Lord Tian Chu clenched his hands, his eyes surging with anger. Although he was angry, Realm Lord Tian Chu still retained his rationality. He had to admit that Zhen Wushuang's life-saving ability was very strong. He could not kill Zhen Wushuang just because of his terrifying domain skill. No wonder this kid didn't run away when he saw me coming. It turns out that he is very confident in his own strength or his life-saving skills. He just wanted to fight me face to face. After the fight, as soon as he achieved his goal, he left. Realm Lord Tian Chu's face was extremely ugly. And right at this moment. Haha, Realm Lord Tian Chu, you've lost a lot of faces today. An immortal saint was actually tricked by a deity and could only watch as the other party left. This isn't like you. Deep laughter suddenly rang out from the surrounding void. Realm Lord Tian Chu's expression sank, his ice-cold eyes immediately turned towards the surrounding void. However, he discovered two figures rushing over. One was old and the other was young. They were the black-robed old man from the Starpoint Pavilion and the young master of the Starpoint Pavilion, Kai Ming. As for the one who laughed out loud, it was none other than the black-robed old man. Old Monster Su from the Starpoint Pavilion? Tian Chu glanced at the two of them as his voice sank. When did you arrive? I arrived very early. It's just that my Starpoint Pavilion has a unique aura concealment technique and you didn't discover it. The black-robed old man laughed. Kai Ming greets Realm Lord Tian Chu. Kai Ming bowed slightly. Although he was the young pavilion master of the Star Pavilion, when faced with a realm lord who was extremely powerful amongst the immortal saints, he naturally had to show some respect. Little fellow from the Star Pavilion? Realm Lord Tian Chu's expression was cold. What are you all doing here? To tell you the truth, we have been keeping an eye on Zhen Wushuang for a long time, even earlier than you, Realm Lord Tian Chu. I asked someone to tell you the news about Zhen Wushuang in the Fire Cloud Castle, Elder Su said with a smile. Did you give us the news? Realm Lord Tian Chu frowned. He had come to the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City in a rage when he found out that Zhen Wushuang had killed Chu Hong. However, he did not know Zhen Wushuang's exact location at first. Later, someone told him that Zhen Yi was staying in Fire Cloud Castle, so he left. He had been waiting near the Fire Cloud Castle for Zhen Yi to appear, and he did get Zhen Yi. Unfortunately, he let him escape. Now, he knew that it was someone from the Starpoint Pavilion who told him the news. I have my eyes on Zhen Yi, But he sent me a message asking me to take action. Is he trying to kill someone else? Realm Master Tian Chu said coldly. Realm Master Tian Chu, don't misunderstand. We don't intend to kill someone else. It's just that this is the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's territory, so it's not convenient for our Point Star Pavilion to take action here. Moreover, although Jian Yi is only a divine master, his strength and skills are extraordinary. It won't be easy to kill him. I'm sure you've already experienced this just now, Elder Su said. Realm Lord Tian Chu narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that Jian Wushuang was indeed a difficult divine master to deal with. A divine master actually defeated my attack head-on. After that, I tried my best to use my saint-level secret skill to kill him. That palm indeed crushed him completely, but after that, he was only in a sorry state and did not suffer any injuries. Such a method, there was no doubt that Jian Wushuang was not as strong as him. However, after the battle, even if he did not choose to flee, Realm Master Tian Chu still did not have the confidence to kill Jian Wushuang. Old Monster Su, what does the Star Point Pavilion mean? Realm Master Tian Chu looked at him. It's very simple. It would be very difficult for me or Realm Master Tian Chu to kill Jian Yi. In that case, why don't we join hands? Elder Su said. Join forces. The expression of Realm Lord Tian Chu could not help but shift. Realm Lord Tian Chu, you want to kill Jian Yi because you want to avenge your son Chu Hong. And the reason why our Star Point Pavilion wants to kill him is because of an item in his hands. Our motives aren't contradictory, we can totally join forces. Old Su said. You're right, I only want him dead. As for the treasure on his body, I'm not too interested. Since that's the case, we can indeed join forces. However, Jian Yi's techniques aren't ordinary, especially his domain techniques, they can restrict me greatly. Just now, he relied on his domain techniques to easily escape from me. Although you and I are both undying saints, if we can't restrict his domain techniques, I'm afraid it would be very difficult to kill him. Realm Lord Tian Chu said. That's true, but it's not a big problem. Elder Su smiled. Don't forget that our Star Point Pavilion is the #1 chamber of commerce in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. We don't have many other things, but we have the most treasures among all the forces in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. For example, we have quite a few domain-type treasures in our Star Point Pavilion. Although I don't have any with me, I can find someone to send a domain-type sacred treasure over. At that time, with me personally controlling a domain-type sacred treasure, I can easily suppress Jian Yi's domain. After all, he is only a divine master. Even if he has a domain-type sacred treasure of the same level, with his strength, he won't be able to unleash too much power. As long as his domain is restricted, he will be like a turtle in a jar. When that time comes, killing him will be much easier. Sure. Tian Chu's eyes gleamed. Right, just in case, I've asked for another helper. Elder Su suddenly spoke. Who? Tian Chu looked over. Don't worry, you'll know soon enough. Elder Su smiled. Chapter 2878, Pressure Realm Lord Tian Chu, Elder Su, and Kai Ming were waiting in the void. Not long after, a figure rushed over from the void. It was a cold, dark-red man. He was tall and slim, and his aura was only at the Divine Master level. If Jian Wushuang were here, he would have recognized him immediately. This cold man was the invincible Divine Master from the Heaven Void world, Marquis of 3 Yin. Marquis of 3 Yin greets Master Su and Realm Lord Tian Chu. Marquis of 3 Yin bowed respectfully to the 2 immortal saints. Marquis of 3 Yin? I've heard of you. Are you a subordinate of Tian Chu? Realm Lord Tian Chu looked at him. Yes, my Lord Palace Master has often mentioned you before. Marquis of 3 Yin appeared abnormally humble. Why? Is the Heavenly Void Palace Master interested in Jian Yi 1 as well? Realm Lord Tian Chu asked in a low voice. Of course, the Heavenly Void Palace Master also wants to kill Jian Yi. Elder Su laughed. Marquis of 3 Yin explained, Jian Yi came from the Pill Sun Sacred World. The Realm Lord of the Pill Sun Sacred World, the Crimson Rock Saint, died a long time ago. The Pill Sun Sacred World has also been in an internal conflict, and its strength has been constantly weakened. It has long been reduced to the weakest realm among the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. And the Pill Sun sacred world is connected to the heavenly void world. My palace master naturally wanted to completely occupy the Pill Sun sacred world. However, because of the agreement between Lord Bone Emperor and the 4 pavilions and the other realms, he could not personally take action. He could only send his divine master army. In the end, he was defeated because of Jian Yi. It can be said that if Jian Yi doesn't die, my palace master can forget about completely occupying the Pill Sun sacred world. Is that so? Realm Master Tian Chu immediately understood. Heavenly Void Palace Master is also very strong. With his help, together with the 2 of us, there is no chance for Jian Yi to survive, Elder Su said with a smile. In addition, the 3 of us have different motives, so we can take what we want. This time, I personally attacked the Starpoint Pavilion and used a domain-type holy treasure. After killing Jian Yi, the Starpoint Pavilion does not want much. We only want one thing, and that is the divine sword in his hand. The Starpoint Pavilion is determined to get it. That magic sword. Realm Master Tian Chu's expression changed. He had just fought with Jian Wushuang, so he naturally felt the power of the Blood Mountain sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. That sword is indeed extraordinary. I heard that Mo Dao of the Fire Cloud Castle used the Holy Heavenly Furnace to refine an extraordinary sword principle magic weapon. During the refining process, Jian Yi happened to visit Mo Dao. This magic sword is most likely the one that Mo Dao refined. Realm Master Tian Chu narrowed his eyes slightly. However, although this divine sword is powerful, it isn't of much use to me. Since the Star Pavilion is determined to obtain this sword, I'll just take it. Elder Su frowned, he then turned his gaze toward the Marquis of 3 Yin. The Heavenly Void Palace is extremely powerful, but they aren't proficient in speed. In a battle, if they encounter someone with slightly stronger life-saving techniques, they won't be able to do anything. And that sword has a powerful domain-type sacred treasure in his hands. That sacred treasure is just right for the Heavenly Void Palace Lord to use. When the time comes, I'll give it to him. As for the rest, Jian Yi's interspatial ring and all the treasures on him will belong to you, Realm Lord Tian Chu. Upon hearing these words, the expression of Realm Lord Tian Chu changed as he spoke in a low voice. It was clearly 3 parties working together, but now, one of you wants the divine sword while the other wants the domain-type sacred treasure. Wouldn't this seat be at a disadvantage? Disadvantage? Not necessarily. Elder Su shook his head. Tian Chu Realm Lord, after you exchanged blows with that sword, you should be able to tell that although he is only a divine master, his methods are extremely powerful. Not to mention that he was able to invite Mo Dao to use the Holy Heavenly Furnace to forge a divine weapon for him. His net worth must be extraordinary. There's an 80% chance that he has other treasures in his hands, and he might even be hiding some secrets. All of these should be left for you. In the end, what you obtain might be even more than my Starpoint Pavilion. After pondering for a moment, Realm Lord Tian Chu nodded. Sure, I agree. Marquis of 3 Yin, what about the Heavenly Void Palace Lord? Elder Su looked at the Marquis of 3 Yin. I've already reported this suggestion to the Palace Lord and he has agreed. He is already on his way to the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. The Marquis of 3 Yin said. That's good. Elder Su smiled. According to the news we received from the Starpoint Pavilion, Jian Yi has just left the Pill Sun Sacred World and will not return for a short period of time. He will continue to stay in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. As long as he stays here, we can easily find him. Once the Heavenly Void Palace Lord arrives, we will act immediately. Okay. Realm Lord Tian Chu nodded heavily. The 3 powerful immortal saints had reached an agreement. Jian Wushuang was flying rapidly in the void far away from the Fire Cloud Castle. At this moment, he was lamenting in his heart. Immortal saint, as expected of an immortal saint. It's not easy to cross over. At least I'm still not strong enough to fight against a real immortal saint, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. The fight with Realm Lord Tian Chu was very short. He had only fought with Realm Lord Tian Chu twice. The first time, Realm Lord Tian Chu had casually used his palm, but he had defeated him with his full strength. However, The second time, Realm Lord Tian Chu had used his Saint Secret skill, so he could not withstand it and was completely crushed. An immortal saint using a Saint Secret skill and not using it are two completely different concepts. Once Realm Lord Tian Chu uses his Saint Secret skill, even if I use my trump card and activate the Supreme Sword Essence in the Blood Mountain Sword, I won't be able to fight against him. To put it bluntly, my realm is too low, and my comprehension of the rules and sword principle is too low. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. He knew that although he had escaped this time, Realm Lord Tian Chu would not let him off easy because he had killed his son. After this battle, Realm Lord Tian Chu would definitely think of other ways to kill him. He might even invite other experts to join forces. If they met again, it would not be easy for him to escape unscathed. Therefore, Jian Wushuang felt a lot of pressure. This pressure was purely caused by his lack of strength. Therefore, what Jian Wushuang wanted the most now was to improve his strength. Now, whether it's breaking through my realm again, rule comprehension, or sword principle comprehension reaching the immortal saint level, they are enough to increase my battle strength. By then, I should be able to contend with Realm Lord Tian Chu. However, rule comprehension and sword principle comprehension have already reached a bottleneck, so I can't break through easily. Therefore, I can only think of ways to continue to improve my realm. Jian Wushuang could not help clenching his hands. Chapter 2879, Cloud-Patterned Armor. It was a possible way for Jian Wushuang to improve his realm. After all, he had consumed 2 million Saint Elixirs from Mo Dao. However, he had used only 200,000 of them to break through to an elementary Great Divine Master level, and the remaining 1.8 million Saint Elixirs were used to accumulate divine power. In addition, he had refined 500,000 sacred elixirs from young Master Chu and the others in the past 3 years, which had allowed him to accumulate enough divine power. As a result, he was not far from the rank of Senior Great Divine Master. Jian Wushuang estimated that he only needed another 400,000 sacred elixirs to break through to the rank of Senior Great Divine Master. When that time came, his divine power would soar again. Even though his comprehension of the rules, sword principle, and absolute arts were not as good as that of Realm Lord Tian Chu, he would still be able to increase his divine power significantly by using various secret skills. Even if his divine power were more potent than that of Realm Lord Tian Chu, he would still be able to compete with Realm Lord Tian Chu head-on. However, he did not have the 400,000 sacred elixirs on hand at the moment. I have to find a way to deal with some treasures, Jian Wushuang murmured. He had many treasures, many of which were extremely valuable. Besides the few treasures that he could use, there were 3 treasures that he could sell in exchange for sacred elixirs. He also had 3 treasures in his hand. They were silver armor, a baby-sized black beast statue, and a dark grey jade slip. All 3 treasures came from the same place, the secret realm in the Pill Sun sacred world, and they were all from Elder Gu. When Jian Wushuang first went to the secret realm and met Elder Gu for the first time, the elder gave them an opportunity. It was an interspatial ring, which many of them fought for. But, in the end, the interspatial ring fell into Jian Wushuang's hands. All 3 treasures came from the interspatial ring, and they were all precious. This jade slip contains teleportation. It can be used to save my life at critical moments. It's scarce. Although I haven't encountered a crisis where I need to use teleportation to escape, I can't guarantee that I won't encounter it in the future. So I'd better keep this token, Jian Wushuang muttered. He put the jade slip back into his interspatial ring. This strange beast statue has such a strong destructive power. Although I haven't comprehended the destructive power, this statue is of no use to me. However, I have a feeling that this strange beast statue is extraordinary. Maybe it will have other uses in the future. Jian Wushuang pondered for a moment. Finally, he put the strange beast statue back into his interspatial ring. 2 of the 3 treasures had been put back into his interspatial ring, so there was only 1 treasure left in front of Jian Wushuang. It was the silver armor, the cloud pattern armor. Cloud pattern armor, a protective armor at the level of a holy treasure. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. A holy treasure was worth a lot. An offensive magic weapon at the level of a holy treasure was like that, but a protective armor was even more expensive. Unfortunately, the protective armor was only at the level of a third-grade ordinary holy treasure, and it was not a natal armor, so its value was significantly reduced. However, it was definitely worth 400,000 Saint elixirs, or even more. I have my golden armor on the protective armor. It's enough for a short period. This cloud pattern armor is not fatal, so it's of no use to me. In the future, as my strength continues to increase, I'll probably see a protective armor at this level often. It won't be a rare thing. It's just right to sell it for Saint elixirs. Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. He immediately took out a token. This token was Mo Tao's communication token. Brother Mo, I have something to ask you. Jian Wushuang sent a message directly. What is it? Mo Dao replied very quickly, and his attitude was still very gentle. It's like this. I have protective armor at the level of a holy treasure. I want to exchange this protective armor for a Saint elixirs, but I don't know how much I can exchange for it. Jian Wushuang asked. A protective armor at the level of a holy treasure? Mo Dao was slightly surprised and said, You are blessed. Although, of course, you are only a divine master, you have a treasure that many immortal saints are envious of. A protective armor at the level of a holy treasure is something that many immortal saints do not have. Jian Wushuang smiled awkwardly. He also knew that Mo Dao was telling the truth. Protective armor at the holy treasure level was not standard in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Among the immortal saints in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow, very few had it. My friend, I wonder what level the protective armor is. Is it the natal armor? Mo Dao asked. It's not the natal armor. It's not high level. It's just an ordinary third-grade holy treasure, Jian Wushuang said. In that case, your armor won't be precious, but it's more than enough for 1 million Saint elixirs, Mo Dao said. 1 million Saint elixirs? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. He only needed about 400,000 Saint elixirs to break through to the advanced Divine Master level. 1 million Saint elixirs were far more than he needed. It's a pity that I gave you 2 million sacred elixirs. Although I still have some, they have other uses. Otherwise, you can give me the armor, and I'll give you 1 million sacred elixirs, Mo Dao said. Brother Mo, you've helped me a lot. How could I dare to trouble you again? Jian Wushuang smiled and said, But is there a place in the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City where I can sell the armor? Yes. Mo Dao nodded. The Dragon Phoenix Sacred City is the territory of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Although there is no Star Pavilion here, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion also runs a Dragon Phoenix Pavilion shop. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion is located in the 4 markets of the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City. You can go there. Moreover, the 4 markets of the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City have powerful restriction arrays. For example, there are restrictions for fighting. You can go there and sell it without worry. I understand. Thank you, Brother Mo, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. After breaking off the communication with Mo Dao, Jian Wushuang immediately set off for the nearest big market. Although it was called a market, it was like a large city, bustling with noise and excitement. There was indeed a layer of significant restriction around the market. Even if the limitation had not been activated, it still gave off a strong feeling. Even the immortal saint himself might not be able to break the restriction. After entering the market, Jian Wushuang headed straight for the Dragon and Phoenix Tower. Chapter 2880, Waiting in a secret room in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Jian Wushuang took out a silver armor. This is, one of the pavilion masters stared at the silver armor with his eyes wide open. He stared at the silver armor and felt its power. Sir, if I'm not mistaken, this should be a holy treasure level protective armor, right? Although the Tower Master was only a peak Great Divine Master, he was very knowledgeable and could tell the level of the armor at a glance. Cloud Pattern Armor is an ordinary third-grade holy treasure protective armor, but it's not a natal armor, Jian Wushuang said. Indeed. The Tower Master nodded slightly and then asked, What do you want to exchange for it, sir? 1,000,000 sacred elixirs, Jian Wushuang said directly. 1,000,000 sacred elixirs. The Tower Master remained calm on the surface, but he was secretly delighted. Even if it was not a natal armor, it was still very rare in the 9 realms of the Golden Crow. Many immortal saints did not have such armor. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had several such armors, but who would complain about having too many treasures? 1,000,000 holy elixirs were nothing to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It was worth it to exchange 1,000,000 saint elixirs for a holy treasure-level armor. Please wait for a moment. I'll send someone to deliver the saint elixirs immediately, the Tower Master said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. 1,000,000 saint elixirs was not a small amount. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion alone certainly did not have them. Naturally, they had to be delivered from the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Jian Wushuang waited quietly in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. It did not take long for the Tower Master to deliver an interspatial ring to him. Jian Wushuang checked it carefully and left without making any mistakes. Jian Wushuang walked on the street of the market, looking around from time to time. I didn't put on any disguise when I entered the market, even when I just entered the Dragon Phoenix Tower. If the Realm Lord Tian Chu used an intelligence organization, he could easily find me. He should know that I'm in the market now, and he might even have rushed out of the market. However, the market is controlled by the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion has a clear rule that no killing is allowed in the market. No matter what, I'm afraid that Realm Lord Tian Chu has to give face to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. No matter how much he wants to kill me, he can only do it after I leave the market. I shouldn't be in any trouble now, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Now that I've got the saint elixirs, I'll find a place to refine them first. I'll leave the market after I've broken through to Senior Divine Master and have the confidence to face Sector Lord Ju Chu head-on. Having made up his mind, Jian Wushuang immediately found a secret room in the market and began to cultivate in seclusion. As Jian Wushuang had expected, the Realm Lord had already known about his presence in the market. At this moment, 4 figures stood in the void outside the market. They were the Realm Lord, Kai Ming, the young master of the Starpoint Pavilion, and Elder Su, the black-robed elder. The last one was a middle-aged man in a purple robe, who looked extremely warm and kind, with an intoxicating smile on his face. However, it was precisely this kind of middle-aged man who had a fearsome reputation in the Golden Crow 9 realms. He was the Heavenly Void Palace Master, an extremely tyrannical and cruel immortal saint. He was also a Realm Lord. In terms of strength, he might not be comparable to Realm Lord Tian Chu, but in terms of ferocity, he was a level higher than Realm Lord Tian Chu. I've already received the exact news. After Jian Yi came out of the Dragon Phoenix Tower, he immediately found a secret room and began his closed-door cultivation. Elder Su said. Cultivate. Realm Master Tian Chu and Temple Master Tianxi's faces darkened. After reaching the level of Great Divine Master, many Great Divine Masters lost track of time when they cultivated in seclusion. Many Great Divine Masters spent hundreds, thousands, or even longer in seclusion. Jian Wushuang was staying in the market. Because of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, they did not dare to kill him in the market. They could only wait outside. What if they waited for hundreds, thousands of years? We have no choice. After all, this is the Dragon Phoenix Sacred City, the territory of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. Even if we are one of the 4 pavilions, we have to give a face to the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. We cannot easily violate the rules set by the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion in the market. Otherwise, we will offend the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion will definitely attack. Even if they can't kill us, they can teach us a lesson, Elder Su said. No one dared to look down on one of the 4 most ancient pavilions in the Golden Crow 9 realms. The Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's foundation was very solid. Although on the surface, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion only had a few immortal saints, Elder Su was very clear that if the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion really got close to their territory, the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had the ability to keep all 3 of them here. The Heavenly Void Palace Lord and Realm Lord were very clear about this. Hence, they did not dare to go against the rules of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, There was only one person who dared to go against the rules of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. That person was Lord Bone Emperor. That Lord Bone Emperor was extremely powerful. He could do whatever he wanted in the Golden Crow 9 realms and did not need to worry about the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. However, that Lord Bone Emperor would not do so easily. In other words, we can only wait here for Jian Yi to come out of his closed-door cultivation. Realm Lord Tian Chu asked in a low voice. This is the only way. Elder Su nodded slightly. Not according to what I know, Jian Yi is an out-and-out super genius. In the entire Golden Crow 9 realms, other than the young phoenix of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, I'm afraid that no one can compare to him. In addition, his rise speed is extremely fast. In just a short 100 years, a super genius whose strength has risen so quickly wouldn't be able to stay in closed-door cultivation for too long. I estimate that he would be able to come out of closed-door cultivation in at most a few decades or even a few years. Realm Lord Tian Chu, Heavenly Void Palace Lord, the two of you shouldn't care about this little bit of time, right? I'm not in a rush. In any case, there's nothing much to do in my Heavenly Void world. The Great Void Palace Lord smiled. H. The moment this sword killed my son, I can't wait to kill him right now. The longer he lives, the angrier I feel. However, for the sake of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, I'll let him live for a little longer. The Heavenly Void Palace Lord clenched his hands tightly. He coldly spoke. Since that's the case, let's wait here. I've already sent people to keep an eye on him. As long as he comes out of the secret chamber, my people will immediately send a message to me. Elder Su said, "You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.